The fun in downtown Lee Summit at a retro arcade bar. Discover your new beer at one of our 6 locally owned breweries. Cool off with some handcrafted cocktails at happy hour. In the night with live music and good company. Lee Summit, Missouri.
Hello, Lee Summit. I'm Laura Ingeman, and this is your flash briefing for the week of August 19th. City Council will meet for regular session Tuesday night, 6 in Council Chambers in City Hall. Meetings are open to the public or watch live on the city's YouTube channel. If you can't watch, catch the recorded meeting on demand on the YouTube channel or by subscribing to the Council Debrief newsletter, which breaks down 3 to 4 key agenda items. Subscribe at cityofls.net. Mayor Baird presented the State of the City address on Friday, August 16th. If you weren't able to attend or watch the live stream, watch the recorded address on the city's YouTube channel or on our website at cityofls.net. Help build a brighter future for Lee Summit. The city is seeking a talented senior staff or staff engineer to join our team, help manage the design of public infrastructure, and collaborate on exciting initiatives that will make an impact on the local level. If you have a passion for civil engineering and public service, this is your chance to shine. Apply today at lspeople.net. Be sure to sign up for the city's free alert system, LS Aware. Receive emergency and non-emergency information by text, email, or phone for events such as severe weather and road closures. You choose how you want to be notified. Learn how to sign up at cityofls.net. And the last Fourth Friday's Art Walk of the season is this Friday, August 23rd in downtown from 5 to 8 p.m. The Art Walk will feature over a dozen artist pop-ups and showcases inside and outside of downtown businesses. Enjoy music in the park at 6:30 p.m. at Howard Station Park. For more information, go to downtownls.org. Thanks for listening and have a great week.
I'm Assistant Chief Jim Eden.
And I'm Battalion Chief Ben Hicks.
And today we're at Lee Summit Fire Station 3. Fire Station 3 was part of the 2016 no tax increase general obligation bond for public safety initiatives. The station was built and occupied in August of 2020. Unfortunately, due to the pandemic, we've not been able to give tours or have an actual ribbon cutting. So we want to invite you in today to give you the opportunity to see what goes on within a Lee Summit Fire Department station.
Let's go take a tour. This is our admin side of the facility. We use this side mainly for offices. We have a lot of work during the day, whether it's training or doing reports or just generally taking care of the shift that we need to do. At this particular station, Station 3, we do have an assistant chief that works out of here. That person has their own office where they need to manage what's going on throughout the day with the shift and staffing, and as well as running calls out of here. The captain has their own office as well. What the captain does is at this specific station is in charge of both the fire truck that's here as well as the ambulance. And so with all those personnel responsibilities as well as running calls and reports, that's where they work out of. And generally for the rest of the crew, which is somewhere around 5 to 6 individuals, we have rooms to write reports, and we have additional training rooms and other rooms where people can work. Walking into our living area, I think it's important to recognize that we work 48-hour shifts. So in the evenings, after 5 o'clock, after work is done, we may have the opportunity to catch a game or something else as long as we're not running calls. And this gives us the opportunity to do that. When we go into our kitchen, I think this gives you a great reason to know why we go to the grocery store. When you see fire trucks at the grocery store, what we're doing. Also for 2 days working for 48 hours, we buy all our meals at the grocery store, and then we come in here and cook, just like you guys do at home. So everybody has their own fridge on each shift as well as their own pantry, and then we cook those meals here. Going into the sleeping side of things, we've got a couple different things that are significant. We have our own laundry room, which again is important when we're here for 48 hours. The opportunity to wash and clean our clothes and bedding is very important for hygiene. And walking into where our beds are, we keep the kind of sleeping quarters over on one side of the building. It gives us both easy access out to where our fire apparatus are, as well as kind of keeping it a little bit quieter for those people that have been up all night running calls. We have 11 bedrooms here at this station. And the reason we built it with so many bedrooms is we want to give ourselves as a city the opportunity to expand. So if we need to put another apparatus here or numerous other people working at this station, that's already in place as far as infrastructure goes, and we don't need to go back and try to make it bigger or better, and that's really important for us, especially because the old station was so small. Back out on the apparatus floor, we have doors facilitated as many places as possible, so that way when we're sleeping at night and a call comes out, we can make our way out fairly quickly to get out onto the truck if we need to and run a call. On the other side of the station, we kind of have other stuff that we may want to keep separated if we want to. Physical fitness is very important to us as firefighters. So in order to better ourselves and make sure we're as healthy as we can to do this job, we have our own gym facility here that we kind of go throughout the day when we can and get an opportunity to come in and work out. Our goal when we run calls, when we get back to the station after calls, our goal is to get ready to go back as soon as we can to run another call. So we have the opportunity or capability here to fill up our air tanks. You can see firefighters wear the big air tanks on their backs and they use those in a fire. We can come back and fill those up and make sure that we're ready to go again when we're wanting to go run another call. We have our own workshop here. We work on a lot of our tools and making sure that everything's clean and operational, and this gives us the capability to do that, again, to make sure that we have everything we need and we're as capable as we can be running calls throughout the city. Cancer prevention is very important in the fire service right now. Because of that, we have an extractor machine, and what this does is gives us the capability when we come back from a fire, we can put our bunker gear into this machine and get all that really nasty crud off of our gear. Again, kind of getting back to that cancer prevention mode, allowing us to be as clean as we possibly can for the next call. And finally is our bunker gear room. We each have our own individual locker. This gives us the opportunity to store our gear when we're not here working in between shifts, as well as keep a clean extra set on here in case we do run a fire and we need to clean our current gear. Typically, this is where your day starts off at the fire station. You come in and get your gear and put it on wherever you're working that day, and then you end the same way, bringing your stuff back to your locker.
Okay, welcome everyone. Would you please rise for the invocation and stay standing for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Heavenly Father, as we gather tonight, give us wisdom as we consider decisions that affect our community. Help us to carefully consider the relevant information that has been gathered and help guide us as we evaluate our options. May those sharing information give us clarity as we consider the pertinent points so we all can clearly understand our options and help unify us in our decisions. Bless the City Council and all those in attendance. Amen.
Okay, everyone, welcome again. I'm calling to order the City of Lee Summit regular session number 13 as amended. Can I get a roll call, please?
You say Shields? I'm here.
All right. Councilmember Rader?
Present.
Councilmember Pryor?
Here.
Councilmember Lovell?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Lopez?
Here.
Councilmember Hodges?
Here.
Councilmember DeMoro?
Here.
Councilmember Carlisle?
Present.
Mayor Baird?
Here. All right, next on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. I have a motion to adopt the agenda by Councilmember DeMoro, seconded by Councilmember Hodges. Discussion? Seeing none, please cast your vote.
Mayor, I'm an aye.
Thank you. All votes are in. Please record the vote. Unanimous. Thank you. Approval of the consent agenda is next. I have a motion to adopt by Councilmember Carlisle, seconded by Councilmember Hodges. Discussion? Seeing none, please cast your vote.
Aye again.
Thank you. All votes are in. Please record the vote. It's also unanimous. Thank you. Council roundtable, items of general interest, things going on in your district, things of that nature. Councilmember Shields.
This Friday, August 23rd, will be Fourth Friday Art Walk and Music in the Park in downtown Lee Summit from 5 to 8 p.m. So I hope folks will come out and support our local artists and businesses.
All right, thank you. When's the, Mr. Snook, when's that, the dog water park thing? You're supposed to, like, man, I love that. I'm sorry, I missed it. All right. Darn. Was it a good time? Yeah, I bet. All right. They opened up the water park for dogs one night before they close it. So obviously it's closed now. Yeah, okay.
Hopefully they got lots of good pictures.
Yep. All right, next on the agenda is our presentations tonight. We've been looking forward to this. We're going to discuss the Business and Industry Fund, fiscal year 25 revenues and fund balance, and that's going to basically set up the conversations for the PSAs that we've been visiting with, the Destination Marketing Organization and downtown Lee Summit Main Street. So looks like Mr., I want to say your name, Stoyanovich. Did I say it right?
Stoyanov, close. You're at least brave enough to try it. Most people just go first names.
Stoyanov. Mr.
Yes.
Stoyanov
Yes.
is here to present for the city.
Good evening, Eric Stoyanov, Budget Manager. So, like you had mentioned, overview of the Business and Industry Fund, kind of looking at the background and then trends that we've been seeing. So just a quick background. The hotel motel tax was approved by voters back in April of 1998. It is a 5% tax on gross daily rental receipts from transient guests, which is guests that stay for 28 days or less on a consecutive basis. All hotels, motels are required to pay by the 20th of the month. They receive a 2% discount if they pay on or before that date. And then, as the ordinance states here in quotes, the Business and Industry Fund shall be used for the attraction and retention of business and industry to the community and or the promotion and provision of facilities for tourism, conventions, and visitors. And so here is a look at the Business and Industry Fund with 2 years of actuals, year-to-date for FY24, since we're still wrapping up FY24, and then the budget amounts for FY25, 26, and 27. You can see we did have pretty good growth with FY24, higher than we expected, in particular the interest income. So that did come in a little bit higher than expected. And then with 26 and 27, that is projected with the anticipation of the DMO coming online and also Discovery Park coming online and seeing growth from those two entities. The administrative fee on the expenditure side, that is our 5%. The payment discount is the 2% that we take off, and then the PSAs are listed. All of the PSAs are the amounts that have been requested. The LSEDC, that's just a placeholder right now. We plugged in just the FY20 ask just to put in a baseline number. We have not received a formal request from the EDC at this point, so that is just a placeholder number. And so you can see for FY25, 26, and 27, with the funding proposals in front of you and the projected revenues, we would be having expenditures in excess of revenues by about $200,000 per year over those 3 years. Again, FY25, I think revenues will probably come in over that. That was probably a very conservative, but still seeing expenditures rising. So here's a look at the Business and Industry Fund balance. So you can see it's grown pretty significantly over the past few years, given the few PSAs in place. We included fund balance as a percentage of revenues and fund balance as a percentage of expenditures on this, just because policies typically choose one or the other. But as you see, we're a very high percentage. I looked back in the 2009 to 2014 timeframe, our fund balance had been about 20% level of expenditures, and then kind of that 14 to 20 FY21 period, it kind of fluctuated from 21 to 35%. So these numbers are very high, given what we've historically been seeing. And again, these numbers are assuming funding full requested amounts for downtown Main Street, the DMO, and then that placeholder for the EDC. And so I thought a visual may help just to show the trends of the Business and Industry Fund going back to FY14. So kind of that dark tealish color, that's the total revenues. The lighter color is the total expenditures, and then the line is the fund balance. And so you can see that it's been around that 20% mark going back to FY14, but then it's increased substantially, the fund balance, over the past few years. And then you can see the impact on that fund balance with these funding requests in front of you. But again, still high compared to what we've historically been with that fund balance. And then here's a look at the revenue trend. The revenues that we see, again, are the business and industry tax, the hotel motel tax. We get the penalty and interest transfers, and then mainly it's interest expense are the ones that make this up. So thought this may be illustrative. It's not all straight line growth that we've seen. It kind of fluctuates. FY20 and 21 are obviously the outliers here. Those are the COVID years, so we saw a dramatic dip in those years, and then a nice rebound in 22. And so overall, it's a little more volatile than some of our other revenue sources, just based on visitors coming to the city. And then this also illustrates, so this is just looking at the hotel motel tax year over year percentage change. Again, with FY20 and 21, that was the big COVID dip, and the 44% jump was FY22. But you can kind of see we're reverting to the mean a little bit with 23, 24, 25 of getting back to that 2 to 4% growth range that we typically have seen over the long haul. That FY18 spike, that was with a few new hotels coming online. So every once in a while we get some spikes with the percentage increases, but it seems like the long-term trend tends to go to about 2 to 4% growth year over year. And then just an idea of potential future impacts. So when we were looking at FY26 and 27, we did not include World Cup in 2026. There's a lot of unknowns still. And again, these PSAs will be recurring. That's kind of a one-off in 26, but still a little bit away. I know there's been regional discussions, but I don't know if we've gotten significant data points to give us an idea of what that impact will be. I've mentioned the Economic Development Council PSA. That is still an unknown out there right now, so that is just a placeholder as we currently look at the numbers. We have the new hotels with Discovery Park. Those are currently in the review process. I know we had Development Services reach out today to the developer just to kind of get an update, and they still say, hopefully, by the World Cup, those hotels will be built out. So, and then we also have results from the DMO efforts, and once we get that up and running, how we see these hotel motel taxes increasing. So the good news is with the potential future impacts that are unknown, most of them are positive potential impacts. With the new hotels, the World Cup, and the DMO should cause revenues to come in a little bit more. And then the EDC PSA is just the outstanding one that we don't know on the expense side. So that's a little overview, and I'm available for any questions before we get to PSAs.
Very good. Thank you. Questions? Councilmember Shields.
Thank you. Could you go to the beginning with the statement of purpose about what the Business Industry Fund is for? So, you know, when we talk about what kind of a balance we want to maintain or how much we want to spend this down, whatever we spend it on or we save it for, it needs to really apply to this purpose, right? So it's not like we can take this and spend it on anything for the city. I know there's some things that we could do, like maybe some wayfinding signage or monument signs that are like to promote Lee Summit, but there's not a whole lot of latitude with what we do with this fund. Is that right, or how would you characterize that?
Yeah, that would be correct. I know our controller would have more to say on the exact allowances, but yes, sticking to this stated intent would be the safest way to go about spending these funds.
Okay, so when we look at maybe spending this down for a few years as we get some of these organizations up and running, expanded, up and running again with EDC, it kind of, to me, I think we've talked about this a little bit on the dais, like it makes sense to spend it down a little bit. It's not like there's a whole lot else that we could really earmark this for, and this gives us a chance to sort of invest in these organizations while they grow, and then hopefully they get to the point where these tax revenues come up and are able to sustain that long term. But based on the fund balance you showed, we'll still, even if we fund at these levels and don't see significant revenue increases, we'll still have a pretty sizable fund balance after a few years, right?
Yes, with these PSAs, we'll still
Okay.
be in good shape as the end of the 3-year term.
Yeah,
And
so-
I know we had discussed it, finance and budget too, because the question was brought up about a fund balance policy when it comes to the B&I. And looking at other cities, it seems like most cities generally have a policy for fund balance related to the general fund, but not necessarily special revenue. I went through the exercise on GFOA provides a template just to see, and it's based on extreme events, revenue stability, expenditure volatility, leverage, liquidity growth. And it said for those aspects for this B&I, it'd be 17 to 25%, but most cities don't have an actual defined fund balance policy when it comes to this type of fund. It's more up to the discretion and yes, just making sure a little bit is left, but not a defined number.
And if, after 3 years, if we don't see those revenues coming in as strongly as we hope, we'd still have kind of a fund balance, so we wouldn't have to just abruptly cut funding. We'd kind of taper down a little bit and kind of adjust as we go. Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
because we would still be at 841,000 roughly at fund balance at the end of these PSAs, if everything
Right.
goes
And-
according to plan with revenues, or
But
it could be
you
higher.
guys, I think, have said you've estimated these, you think, pretty conservatively, right?
Yes. Yep.
So hopefully the revenues actually come in significantly higher.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, I think those are all my questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Other questions? I'll ask you just a couple. What are, I always talk about best practices, other cities, what's their hotel or business and industry fund tax? What are their percentages?
I've seen a few other 5%, but I haven't gone a deep dive. I know David Bushek looked into this, our council, and just told us basically it can go up to 7%, but it seems like most are in the 5% that I've seen. But again, I haven't done a deep research on this.
Okay. I mean, I'm sure we can make decisions tonight going forward, but could we request that, Mr. Elam, that you provide that to finance and budget so they can have that and push the information forward? And it's just, I want to make sure that this came out in 1998, so that's 26 years ago. Just want to be in alignment.
Yeah, no, we can definitely look into that.
Right. Well, it looks like we're going to go into some ordinances, some bills at this point. Mr. Elam, are we going to have comments first or somewhat of a presentation before these bills, or are we just going to dive right into these PSAs?
I believe we're just going to dive right into the
All right.
PSA and ask questions related to each one.
Okay, because we've had conceptuals basically from the DMO and the downtown Main Street. So let's go ahead and, Councilmember Rader, would you start us off with Bill number 24-154?
Thank you, Mayor. I move to advance to second reading Bill number 24-154, an ordinance approving a public service agreement between the City of Lee Summit, Missouri and Lee Summit Visitors Bureau for destination marketing management organization services and authorizing the city manager to execute the same by and on behalf of the city.
Thank you. We have a motion to move to second reading, Bill number 24-154 by Councilmember Rader, seconded by Councilmember Hodges. Discussion? Yes, Councilmember DeMauro.
Thank you. I do have a couple questions, Ryan, and that is a couple questions and a couple clarifications that I would like to talk about. The first one is line item L, and that's the work authorization E-Verify clause. Is that amount, which it's $5,000, is that set by state statute? Because there is a state statute number right preceding that.
So I'm going to look to Crystal to
Okay.
help answer
All right.
these questions.
Okay.
Crystal Weber, Assistant City Manager. So this is probably the worst answer, but that was the standard language in the standard contract, so legal has reviewed it, so I'm going to assume it's correct. I don't know the origin, but I can get back to you on that.
Mr. Head can probably tell me.
It is a statutory threshold.
Okay.
Yeah,
so-
it comes from the statute.
And that statute, or that amount and that statute is the same one the City of Lee Summit uses, correct?
Well, I think we're required to use that amount. I mean, we could probably set it lower maybe if we wanted to, but that's the amount that triggers the threshold for the state requirement for E-Verify.
Okay, all right, that's good enough, thank you. And then, going backwards here on, line item F, and actually, the clarifications that I would like to install are on both. I mean, they're identical on each PSA, so I'm only going to say this once. But in item F, it says the report shall document the revenue and disbursements of monies received from the city and shall contain analytical memoranda. So to me, that's a little vague, and I would like to insert or have it say a detailed line item of both of those items, the receipts and the disbursements and the revenue, much like, in and out. And I don't want general categories. I want actual expenditures. That's one change, and I guess we can talk about it. But I want detailed line items. And then in that same section F, it says that the first report shall be submitted to the city manager on and before January 31st and July 31st. And then we're requiring the PSA, either one, to periodically provide a brief statement or status report to the city regarding the services. That annual in-person presentation, the next line, does not have a set date. And and again, we can talk about it, we can agree. I would like that to be in January. That would be preceding the January 31st report anyway. And that way, in-person report could be given to us. Not only the final report, but an in-person report. So that's the clarification, the small line items that I would like to see changed. And I will make a motion to do that, or we can talk about it first, and then I'll make a motion, depending on however you want to.
Sure. Well, can you summarize it? Because I'm not exactly sure. You wanted annual reports, I know that, but, and you wanted more detail. But can you summarize it like into a motion?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, yes. Okay, I will do that. I would like to motion to amend the bill number 24-154, excuse me, I got the wrong one in front of me, 24-154, to include item F, a detailed line item of both items, line items of, the revenue is going to be pretty standard, pretty static, but the disbursement of monies, how it was dispersed. And then the second, I would like to have the PSA, which in this case is the Visitors Bureau, provide an annual in-person presentation to the City Council. I would like to see that happen in January.
Okay.
It's vague. It says that, it says the date should be determined by the City Council. So I'm trying to determine that date right now.
Okay. All right. Let's have discussion. Let's start with the first one, which is the annual expenditures detailed. And I'm pretty sure Councilmember DeMoro was referencing that he wanted line item detail. Is that correct, sir?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. All right. Councilmember Shields, you are on the queue next. Do you want to speak to that? Or
I guess I would just want to ask our attorneys, like, what is the standard that they would, this is a new PSA, so we don't know, we don't have a history, but like typically from other organizations, what kind of detail level do we get and what would we expect here based on how it's written, and how would we amend that if we want more detail?
Before we move on,
Okay.
we can't have discussion until we have a second.
Yeah.
Councilmember Hodges, I have a motion by Councilmember DeMoro, second by Councilmember Hodges. Motion to amend.
We can request any level of detail that the council likes. I mean, that's not inappropriate. I think my preference would be, instead of trying to amend this document on the fly, what my suggestion would be is for the council to discuss and we develop a consensus of what changes you would like to see to the agreement. And then between the first reading and the final approval, we can go back and make those changes to the agreement. And then so at the next meeting, you would have a final agreement in front of you that has all of those changes that you are recommending or that you're asking for during this meeting. I think that would be a little cleaner way to do it than trying to amend, because technically it just gets messy when we try to amend the actual agreement as opposed to the ordinance itself. But if you all will tell us what changes you would like made, we will, and we get consensus, we will of course then make them and bring them back for the next
Can put it into the correct legalese, how we need
Yes.
to have it phrased.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I would be in support of having the agreement revised to require more detail on the financial statements, kind of how Councilmember DeMoro said, and however legal needs to write that up. I think that makes sense. We're providing the funds, and there should definitely be transparency there. Thank you.
Thank you. On the, that's where we're starting with is the first part. Councilmember Carlisle.
Okay, so I just want to clarify, here on page 2, F, where it says, "The report shall document the revenue and disbursements of monies received from the city and shall contain analytical memoranda which, boom, boom, boom." That's not enough. You want it to say like, "The report shall document, line item document the revenue and disbursements of monies." Is that what?
Yes, yes. I don't want general statements. I want actual.
Well, I mean, line item is advertising, but the analytical part is what, gets to the detail. So that's what I'm asking. You want it to say, they want us to know, or they want us to tell them what we want it to say. So what you're asking for is that in line number 3 under F, where it starts, "The reports shall," then do you want to insert line item document? Would that get to what you want? The revenue and disbursements of monies received from the city?
Yeah,
and contain analytical memorandum which, so those words I just said, does that get you there, or does it need to be something
Like
else?
the word detailed. In other words, I think the example somebody said was advertising. I'd like to see who received that money. It's one of those things that previously was a foul on another PSA, and I think this is needed to have clarity.
Can I make a suggestion? Could we, Councilmember Demorrow, could we satisfy that by saying, adding to that sentence, including detailed expense reports upon request? That way, they provide their financials, and then if you want more detail, you request it, and they have to provide the nitty-gritty line item details, not just the...
Well, if we put it in the PSA, we've requested it. I'd like to have it requested in the PSA, and that way they know to work on that a month. Give them. I don't want to tell them 2 weeks. Hey, we want the detail. If they know it's in the PSA agreement, they will prepare for that when they come to us.
Okay. Let me go back to Councilmember Carl, and then I'll come right. Go ahead, Councilmember Lovell. She yields the floor to you.
Well, I was thinking like we could be more direct and just use a typical like accounting report or something where we say detailed profit and loss report and that would include the vendors under each category. So like if they're using QuickBooks or they have an accounting program, they'll run a profit and loss. So we could ask for that specific report and it would have that detail in it. It might just be more, we might be able to clarify. It might be picking up what you want. So when it says advertising, you say detailed, that shows each vendor under advertising and the amount that went to it. Is that what you're looking for? So like when you get that report, instead of just seeing that bucket for advertising, you see like, you could see Facebook ads, you could see downtown signage, you could see where all those vendors were and the dollar amounts allocated to them in that detailed profit and loss statement. And I think that's
exactly.
probably what we're looking for.
And yeah, exactly. And I don't want to predicate how they do it. I want to see it in their yearly report or.
So if it was cleaning up language like a detailed profit and loss statement to show categories and all vendors associated with those categories.
Yes,
That shows revenues and expenses.
exactly. Thank you.
I mean, that's close, but it's not, it's not, you can show the vendors, but that's not a line item detail of every single expenditure, because that vendor might have 100 different expenditures underneath there. You know what I mean? I mean, it's just, I'm fine with it. If they want that kind of detail, I just think that's a lot of detail.
So like if
to
you went to a party for
submitted to
Facebook
you.
ads, like if you just used a third party to do all your marketing, is that what you're saying? So you wouldn't know how it was allocated inside that vendor?
Well, plus there's a lot of times, somebody, I mean, you don't want, I don't mind all the detail that a council member wants. I just don't know if we want that much information at the upfront. So I'm all for line item detail. So Mr. Elam and Mr. Head, Ms. Weber, like the DMO would need to provide those line items, like what Councilmember Lovell is saying, the vendors, but also the expenditures below those vendors.
I don't think that will be a difficulty for the DMO. We wouldn't want to use language like profit and loss because the DMO will likely use modified accrual and they won't have technically profit and loss. But something the council could do is use language that says a detailed expense and revenue statement as agreed upon to the satisfaction of the city manager. They can present some drafts. We can work with the city manager to come up with something that he thinks is sufficient. He can show that to the council. That way they have some time to work because they may be presented different because they are different structured organizations. That way we can have the same language. It also gives you flexibility in case you change your mind and want to see it a different way throughout. So I think we can put that responsibility on the city manager to come up with something satisfactory.
Okay, so, Councilmember DeMauro, we can do I'm supportive of getting whatever detail you want, It's just how it's presented the first time, and then you might have to request it more, or do you want like the full deep dive into every single line item? Because there could be thousands. as this grows. It could be thousands.
I think that, it's a good question.
Like I'll give you an example. When I was at school district, some of their line item details were just, if you asked for a printout of it, it would have been, 20 pages long of line items. And I'll be honest, I asked for that once or twice, and I got it. It's just that it was hard to comb through. That's all.
Now, I think if we have, now this will be this would be a biannual report, so, trying to find the dates again. Oh, yeah, January 31st and July 31st. I think the vendor and the amount paid to that vendor, unless somebody else has an idea, would be sufficient. Yes.
So, Mr. Head, he says that would be sufficient, but if we want to ask for, if Councilmember DeMauro gets that report and he sees $10,000 paid to one vendor, and he's like, what in the world are we spending $10,000 on in that one vendor? Then we need to be able to ask for the details. That's what we need.
Yeah, some language to that effect, yeah, that it could be extrapolated
Yeah.
further.
I think that covers us to get it, but he wants specificity. So, does that make sense, Mr. Head? We just need to be able to access that information. We want detail, but if we want more detail, we want to be able to request it and get it. That make sense?
We'll come up with some language before the next meeting. If the council's in consensus and requesting that change, we'll get some language together.
Okay.
And then the in-person, if everybody's okay with January, we can just actually insert that. Huh? No, the annual in-person presentation. The report won't be in person. That will just be that will be sent to Mr. Dunning. Oh, well, I'm saying January. I'm not putting a day on it. January, they've got 30 days. So if they start working on January 1st and it's January 31st, that's fine, just so it's January. Number 3.
Mayor, when it's helpful, I have some information from the downtown organization. They couldn't be here yet tonight regarding the reporting dates that might be helpful to the council.
Go ahead.
So the reason it's a January 31st date is because for downtown Lee Summit Main Street, they have a big national report that they have to do a few days before that. So if they could wait and do the report to us the 31st and any presentation to follow that, that helps them be able to meet the big reporting deadlines they have for their national report to keep their accreditation. So if you would be amenable to say we'll do it the first meeting in February, that would be most helpful to them and probably the DMO as well.
That would be great. That would work. Yes. Yes, that would greatly help. Yes,
And we could write some language that gives you as a council an out to change that date if you have some big other business to attend. Yeah.
Thank you.
So are we going to change the language on that one? Are you requesting to change the language on the date?
Just a definitive time. That way they know. I mean, I don't.
You have that, Mr. Head? Okay, he's got it.
Okay.
Councilmember Shields.
I was just going to actually offer support to that as well. The one where it says, I think what Councilmember DeMore was referring to, LSVB shall provide an annual in-person presentation to the City Council. The date of the in-person presentation shall be determined by the City Council, just to change that to say that a presentation to the City Council at the first meeting in February or as soon thereafter is reasonably practical, however you guys want to put it. But I really do like this because I think there have been times when it's sort of in there that there's supposed to be a report at some point, we're supposed to hear from them, but it's nice to have it more
Deadline.
defined
Yeah.
and to know so that we all know what to expect. So I do like that, kind of setting that expectation. Thank you.
So, Mr. Head, if we pass this tonight, can you have those prepared for second reading?
Yeah, I think these are fairly minor changes, so yes, we can put the language together and have it in the packet for this coming for next week's meeting. Mayor, you do still have an amendment on the floor.
Yep.
My recommendation would be for the original motion to be withdrawn,
Okay.
so that you can proceed forward with the business.
Would you withdraw, and we'll have it amended for the second reading, sir?
I would like to withdraw my amendment. Yes.
Thank you. Okay, we have a withdrawal of the motion and the withdrawal of the second. So, okay, very good. Thank you all. All right, so we're back on the ordinance for the Lee Summit Visitors Bureau.
Oh, do I have to read it again?
No, it's moved. That's for the adoption. She's already got it up there. Yeah. Yeah, we just need to vote on this, but I want to make sure everybody has time for discussion if there's any more. So we're talking further discussion on this one? Okay, I'm not seeing any. So I will call for the vote. Please cast your vote. All votes are in. Please record the vote. It does move to second reading. Thank you. Unanimously, that is. All right, so next we have Councilmember DeMoro reading Bill number 155, please.
I move to advance the second reading, Bill number 24-155, an ordinance approving a public service agreement between the city of Lee Summit, Missouri and downtown Lee Summit Main Street Incorporated for organization promotion, economic vitality, and design services for the downtown core, and authorizing the city manager to execute the same by and on behalf of the city.
All right, thank you. We have a motion to move to second reading, Bill number 24-155 by Councilmember DeMoro, seconded by Councilmember Hodges. Discussion? Yes, Councilmember Shields.
Thank you, Mayor. So on this agreement, since the last agreement we had to extend for a few months, this agreement, the first year of it will be a truncated year, but with an initial payment that's a little bit higher since we weren't able to do that increase in funding for the first few months. Is that right? I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page about what we're doing.
Crystal Weber, Assistant City Manager. Yes, Shields, Councilmember Shields, that's correct. I always called you Chairman Shields. That is correct. So they will receive a regular monthly payment in their first month starting in October, as well as a lump sum payment that makes up the difference for the 3 payments they've received in the meantime.
Okay, perfect. And then I think, Councilmember DeMore, you were hoping to make those similar changes to this PSA as we talked about with the, I guess I can't call on you, I'm not the mayor, but I would make a recommendation to make similar changes to what we did on the other PSA as Councilmember DeMore discussed, assuming other council members are in agreement.
I did have that intention. Thank you.
Mr. Head, you got that, sir? Got it. All right, Councilmember Shields.
I obviously am in support of this. We've talked about it, discussed it at Finance and Budget and at full council. I think downtown Main Street's doing really phenomenal work, and I think they can expand those efforts with some expanded funding. So I'm happy to support this. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Lovell.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't necessarily think there's anything that I think I'm in support of this. One of the things that was kind of born out of this discussion is just my communication contact with maybe some other downtown business owners. And what I would just like to see and understand better, and I did have a chance to talk with Councilmember Shields earlier today, that it is, the key function of this is supporting the downtown businesses and that there is proper engagement and communication with them and opportunities for them to give feedback about how this organization can best support them. I know there have been some questions about, at least from what I've heard, maybe downtown days in ways that we can improve that, make it better for not only the citizens of Lee Summit, but also the business owners that are affected mostly during those days. And so I don't think it's necessarily something I want to motion into here to include in this PSA, but maybe like, hey, here's some things I would love to see maybe more opportunities for us to learn more about that engagement and the feedback you're getting from the downtown business owners, because ultimately that's who we're trying to support here with this organization and the citizens in creating activities and things like that. So I will be in support of this. Those are things that have kind of come to me in hopes and opportunities to learn more about what you guys do, how you do it, and that we are properly engaging our downtown and continuing to improve some of the services that we provide. Thanks.
Yep, thank you. Who's our downtown liaison right now? Councilmember Shields?
Mayor,
Yeah.
I'd be happy to speak just a little bit to some of that, if it's okay.
Yeah, please.
So, I've been a downtown resident for several years, and I love it. But actually being liaison to the Downtown Main Street Board has been really eye-opening to see just how much they do behind the scenes. That it's really easy to see things like the art walk and the shovel the sidewalk sale and the wine walk, and not to know how much effort goes into those and how much they do to engage local businesses, to see, I hear about, this business is doing this 30% off giveaway, and this one's doing this buy one, get one, and this one's giving this to this bag, and all the things that they're doing to engage those businesses directly in those events, but also to see, what can we do. And I think they told me, and I'm probably gonna misquote, but the shovel the sidewalk sale was the idea of one of the small business owners. What can we do to get people here in the doldrums of winter when the holiday shopping season is over? And so, they seem to really take that kind of feedback really seriously and do all of these events to keep that foot traffic downtown and to keep all of these businesses engaged and profitable. And I think the fact that when I was looking at their board composition today, because I think actually Councilmember Lovell was asking me about that and I couldn't remember, but I pulled up their website, and every single member of their board except one is a downtown business owner or employee, and I think the one who wasn't is actually one of my neighbors who's a downtown resident. So they're obviously, through that board composition and through all the outreach that they do, I think they're very in touch with the needs of the businesses. You can never make everyone happy all the time, but I think they work really hard to see those needs and address them and try to keep it really thriving. So I'm sure they'll tell us more at their next presentation, maybe have some more data on that. I'm sure they'd be happy to address this tonight, although I don't know if that's appropriate at this moment. But yeah, just as their liaison, I've been really impressed by the level of organization, commitment, volunteer energy, and how they really do focus on those needs. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think maybe what Councilmember Lovell's referring to, we've talked about from the dais quite a few times, which is, if we have concerns, we'd like to have a voice and be able to say, hey, call Donnie or call a board member and have relationships in place where if we have ideas, we can pitch them, or at least say, hey, have you talked to so-and-so about these things? And those are healthy lines of communication. And when you're given tax dollars to the organizations, our community partners, we want to be able to have those open lines of communication, and we want to see that kind of collaboration. So I know they do all the hard work and details, but I support what you're saying. I feel like we've got a really strong relationship with them, and I feel like I could ask them any question at this point, but you have to continually work on those relationships, and you have to, I think they can be facilitated through the annual presentations and the liaison, and just trying to know who the board members are and communicate with them and such. So there's a lot we can do to help facilitate that on our end as well as on their end. But I definitely hear the points. So okay, they definitely have been successful bringing in more sales tax dollars to our community and supporting the businesses downtown. But we're always trying to push and be better. But I think based on what I'm seeing, as far as a little discussion, we probably should vote on this and show them our support at this point. So there's no further discussion. Being none, please cast your vote. frozen computers? All right. All votes are in. Please record the vote. Passes unanimously. Thank you all. That takes us to a presentation. I almost jumped to another ordinance, but we got a presentation. This is a artwork commission and purchase agreement process. Looks like Glenda Masters will be doing the presentation.
Oh, goodness, I did it as a PDF and not my PowerPoint. Let's see. If there was a way to do a full screen, let me.
You a PowerPoint person, not an Adobe person or something?
Well, I usually will do like a PowerPoint and run it that way, but I didn't think about that. I just sent it as a PDF. Okay. All right. Well, good evening, Mayor Baird and Council. Glenda Masters, Cultural Arts Manager. I am really excited to be giving this presentation tonight. It's an exciting presentation. It's a really awesome milestone, I think, for us as a city. One of the ordinances and contracts that you have before you is to commission our Downtown Market Plaza public art entryway. So this is a presentation discussing the artwork commission and purchase agreement that you have before you and in consideration tonight. And so this presentation is really just to recap and overview the process that we went through to commission this artist and this particular piece of public art. And again, just to kind of give an overview of the process and how we got to where we are right now. So I wanted to just very quickly touch on the different types of public art elements that will be incorporated over at the, I guess now the Green Street project, but we'll keep saying Downtown Market Plaza for the purposes of this presentation. This is kind of the first time that we've kind of shared, again, a high-level overview of the different places in which we can see public art taking place within the complex. And so I thought I wanted to take a very quick moment to highlight that. And so just kind of starting out by the parking garage area, we will be adding murals inside the staircases in the parking garage that will lead down towards the Market Plaza entryway. And then some of the other dots that you see along the sidewalk are more for temporary rotating pieces, so expansion of the sculpture walk program. The little dot that you see over at the playground we'll be bringing the Raptor back. So the Raptor that was up on the plaza previously will get cleaned up and tidied up and reinstalled over by the play area. Over at the Market Plaza, we'll have mural opportunities both on the facade of the building. Those will be very large scale murals, both I think 4 panels, 13 by 7 foot, so very large. And then we'll have public art on the inside as well in the little vestibule area. Other opportunities down by City Hall, we will be reinstalling the emergence time capsule that also used to be on the plaza out here. And again, thanks to Davines and Ben Wine with Fossil Forge, they will also take some time to rehabilitate and clean up and tidy up the piece in preparation for installation. Over in the Wickets area, that will just be additional opportunities for temporary and pop-up and rotating styles of public art once the facility is open. And then all the way down at the bottom, that red block right there is the project that we'll be talking about tonight, which is the entryway public art project. To overview kind of where we started and how we got to being here tonight. Looking at commissioning such a large-scale, iconic, site-specific, site-responsive work of public art really does take a long time. It's been almost a year just to get us to the point of selecting an artist and getting an artist under contract. And once we move into contracting, it'll be another approximately 9 to possibly 10 months of actually creating the piece of art and getting it installed. And so we began really back in September of last year, putting together the project scope and the budget of what we wanted to see take place at the site. Kind of moving into the fall and early winter, we formed an artist selection panel, and I'll discuss that group a little bit more. And then we decided that the best approach to take for this piece would be a two-part selection process. And so we began with a request for artist qualifications, followed by the second phase, which is a request for concept proposals. And again, I'll discuss each of those in a little bit more detail. After we selected the 5 finalists, we created a public input portion where we presented these concepts and allowed the public to provide input, feedback, maybe give us a little bit of an idea of what they thought might be their favorite piece. And then after the public input phase, the artist selection committee and staff worked together to select that final artist, and now we are in the process of finalizing a contract and preparing it for execution. I first wanted to mention, thank, and recognize our artist selection panel. It takes a lot of people to commission a piece of art of this size. And so we had a very large team to help us out. It was comprised of members of the Cultural Commission as well as stakeholders involved in the Market Plaza project, as well as members of the community as well. And so I know that Dave Eames is here tonight, who's the chair of our Cultural Commission. So again, just wanted to say a thank you and a recognition to him as well as helping us through this project. The members of the Cultural Commission that participated in this selection panel all have experience in public art in some way, shape, or form, both from the public art administration side and also from the creation side. So it was really great to have their expertise in that process. The community stakeholders, including members from Downtown Lee's Summit, farmers market vendors. We wanted to also include the Historical Society as well as our Human Relations Commission as well. So we began posting the position, or excuse me, the call on February 21st, and we allowed it to, the request for qualifications section went from roughly February through the beginning of April, and it involved starting by posting the call for artists nationally so that we could get a wide pool of prospective artists in the process. We posted this on a website called Call for Entry. It's called CAFE for short. And it really is the kind of the go-to source for posting various types of public art calls. Again, across the country, public artists know that this is the place to go if they are interested in procuring jobs. In that process, we received 111 applications, and then we were able to whittle that down to 83 eligible applications. And so what that means is when we receive all of the applications, and staff will take the first review of all of those applications, take out the ones that truly do not qualify for being reviewed. And so if the artist did not show that they were able to, they had the experience in producing the type of artwork that we are looking for in terms of the size and scope and budget, they were removed from the process. We had several artists who applied as muralists, and in this case, we decided that mural was not the direction that we wanted to go in, and so we removed them from the eligibility process as well. So the hard work then kicked into gear where we had our artist selection panel review 82 applications. And so they had the very difficult task of reviewing those applications and narrowing them down to 5 finalists that would then be invited to participate in the request for concept proposals phase. The 5 finalists were asked to create and to design and present a proposal that showed their artwork design concept. They needed to explain how the artwork fit the site, so how was it site responsive. Present a budget that did not exceed $100,000, which is the budget that we had allocated for this project. A timeline to ensure that they could actually produce the artwork within the time frame that we needed to have them to do that in order to install it before opening of the facility. And then they also needed to submit a maintenance and conservation plan so that we can be assured that we knew how to take care of the piece once it was installed and in our care. On June 24th, we conducted those finalist interviews, and that included the artist selection committee, as well as several members from the Market Plaza project team and staff, as you see here. So we wanted to make sure that we had good representation from Lane 4, from Olson Studios, from Tesserae, so that we can have the architects also be a part of the project, or at least a part of the interview process as well. From July 1st through July 10th, we held a public engagement opportunity where we created a webpage and posted all of the concept proposals, and then created an online form so that we could gather feedback from the public. We had over 700 public comment submissions, which is a really great turnout for a project like this. And then over 400 positive comments for just one specific concept alone. We promoted the public engagement opportunity through our various city newsletters, city social media, and then from there, we also did basically Facebook social media ads too, and that really helped generate that additional public engagement. I think just the ads alone had well over 1,300 to 1,500, close to 16,000, I think, actual engagements and impressions. So lots of public participation there. And out of that whole entire process, we came to selecting artist Heath Satow with the piece, Everything Changes with a Dream. The public response to this particular piece was very overwhelming. So again, over 400 responses just for this piece alone. And Heath really stood out really from the beginning through all of the different phases. And so we're really excited to have Heath's work here. He is from Utah. He has work internationally, so he has work in South Korea, Dubai, both East Coast and West Coast, and this will be his first Midwest piece. It has the ability to illuminate at night. It's about 13 to 14 feet tall. And so with that, I will conclude my presentation and open it up to any questions that you have. But again, this is a really exciting opportunity for us. It's the first really large-scale public art commission that we are doing as a city. And so I'll just leave it there.
Okay,
Thank you.
go back to the last slide, please, so we can leave it
Yes.
on that. There we go. All right,
Yes.
so we can see what we're talking about.
Yes.
Very good. Excellent. What questions do you have for Ms. Masters? Council members? Comments? Councilmember Shields?
Thank you, Mayor. I don't really have any questions. I think this is neat. When I saw the different concepts, this one stood out to me. I thought it was fun, and it'll be, I think, just colorful and beautiful, and I think a fun place for people to meet. So I'm glad that this is the one that got selected. And I appreciate you going through the process. I can tell a lot of time and energy, especially volunteer energy, went into this. So it's great to see those folks being so involved in deciding how our community will look. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Lovell?
I really like this. I mean, I think it captures the Midwest. It reminds me of my youth and playing with helicopters. Can you remove it and throw it? And that would, I don't know if it's too late to amend the contract.
That's another
but,
thing we'll have to see if we can.
I think it's unique. I think it'll be something that's very attractive downtown. I love that it lights up at night too. So appreciate the work you guys did, and I think you've picked a winner here.
It's really great.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Awesome. Could I share one quick story about when we reached out to the artist to let him know? So I first sent him an email just saying, congratulations, we've selected you. And I very quickly summarized the process and said we had 111 applications. We narrowed it down to 5 finalists. Your piece clearly shown rose to the top each time. And I gave him a little bit of some of the comments that we received from the public, and just talking about how unanimously or just overwhelmingly from the public, there was this sense of just childhood nostalgia that came along with that. And so I shared some of those comments with them, and he wrote back and he said, in my 35 plus years of doing this is the nicest acceptance letter I've ever received. And so I think his piece really resonated with the community from the beginning, and I think it'll continue to resonate generations on. And so we're really excited to work with them and happy to move forward.
All right, thank you. Mayor Potem Lopez.
Thank you, Mayor. I would agree with my colleagues' comments, just about how iconic and different this looks. I say this often, I'm the least creative, the least artistic, the least imaginative person I know. You can ask anyone in my house. Yeah, it shows that you all, the committee, the process you went through, there's a lot of effort put into that, and I appreciate it. And so thank you all for that, and it's exciting. I'm anxious to see this up in action, and I agree. Who didn't play with helicopters if you grew up in the Midwest? So it's iconic. I think this is something that people across the region will identify Lee Summit with, just like the shuttlecocks down on the plaza. So I'm excited. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, it is very beautiful. I'm excited too. With regard to the other, they were nice. The Blue Jay got 58 votes. That's kind of surprises me because it was a little, it was a little scary almost. But it's all in the eye of the beholder. I mean, a big Blue Jay would be scary in real life,
It was amazing to us seeing the comments come in, how overwhelming it was just for one specific piece.
Yeah, this one
it.
dominated the conversation and dominated the votes, but they were all very nice. Even the Blue Jays, just this one really feels like it'll fit the farmers market and Lee Summit. So, thank you. Thanks for the presentation.
Yeah.
Member Lovell, you get the honor of reading Bill number 24-156, please.
I move to advance to second reading Bill number 24-156, an ordinance authorizing the execution of an artwork commission and purchase agreement between the City of Lee Summit, Missouri and Heath Satow Sculpture, Incorporated for Everything Changes with a Dream.
Thank you. I have a motion to move to second reading. Bill number 24-156 by Councilmember Lovell, seconded by Councilmember Hodges. Discussion? Seeing none, please cast your vote. All votes are in. Please record the vote. That bill moves forward unanimously to second reading. Thank you all. Very good presentation. We are going to conduct a little more business here. We need to close the regular session and open the public hearing in the matter of Agenda Item 5A, a public hearing preliminary development plan for QuikTrip 1001 and 1005 Southwest Blue Parkway. QuikTrip is the applicant. Would all those rise and be sworn in by the city clerk? All right, does the applicant have a presentation?
Good evening, Mayor and Council, men and women. Thank you so much for letting me join your meeting this evening. I just wanted to kind of start with a little background and introduction to myself. My name is Tara Limbach. I have been with QuikTrip for almost 13 years, and I am proud to say that I'm from Lee Summit. I grew up here. I graduated from Lee Summit West, purchased my first home in 2015, and actually just closed on my second home, which is also in Lee Summit. So I'm very, very proud to be here presenting some QuikTrip projects to you all. So this first project we'll be speaking of is our 3rd Street location, store number 183. This is just kind of an overview shot of the current store and canopy, as well as the car wash. So QuikTrip acquired this car wash lot, so we now have both lots. This is our current site plan where it sits today. This is a proposed phased rebuild. Now, what that means ideally in QuikTrip's mind is that we will keep the current store open and operating while we rebuild the new store next to it. My next slide kind of shows the correlation of the current store, the current canopy, and the current car wash in relation to the new site that we have proposed. A few things about this site as I kind of switch back, sorry about that. All entrances and access points that are in today are going to remain the same minus this middle entrance on Blue Parkway. It's shifting ever so slightly to the north. Everything else will remain as it's working today. A few changes that coming out of Planning Commission. So some of the comments from Planning Commission as far as the layout went, they were concerned with some of the trucks parking along this edge here along Blue Parkway as they kind of do today. So one change, we added 5 no parking signs along that Blue Parkway curb. We're hoping with the addition of the floating parks that a lot of the trucks will park along here and then utilize these floating parks for their longer vehicles with trailers, keeping them away from the access points. Another comment from City Council was, or from Planning Commission, I apologize, was about the landscape. And one of the commission members was really wanting to see more evergreen trees. So I know on our initial plan, we proposed 3. We went in and we added 5 more, making it a total of 8 evergreen trees on this site. We've been working really closely with the City of Lee Summit to stay within code, to abide by all of the design features that they would like, as well as I held a neighborhood meeting. But I'm here for any questions that you may have pertaining to this site, and I can leave it on whichever screen you think is most easy to reference, but.
Probably the well, that's the current one, and then you've got the overlay of how it's going to be proposed. Is that correct?
Yeah, this just kind of shows the relation of how it would work out, and just the spacing between that we would be able to build over here while this store is still open and
Oh,
operating.
okay, no, that is your current layout. I'm sorry, you're right. That's
Yeah,
the old, the
red.
red is the old layout.
Correct.
Okay.
And the black is the proposed layout.
Right, and the red where the proposed layout is where the car wash is that correct?
Correct. So the new store and the new canopy would be
Right.
as far to the north on the site where the car wash is today.
That's gonna be interesting, you building that while it's still open, that'll be fun to watch.
That's normally the goal if we do have the space for it.
Yeah.
And the same will be our goal with the other store we're remodeling with the 50 and 291 interchange that we'll talk about next. We also proposed some sidewalk crossing to help with circulation. I know that the city really emphasized the pedestrian movement, and adding these crosswalks is something that we are willing to do to help facilitate that.
Well, that's good, because there is a lot of walking that goes at that corner, a tremendous amount. Okay, we will have the city's presentation, and then we'll come back for questions for you.
Sounds good.
Good evening, Hector Soto, Senior Planner. I'd like to enter into the record Exhibit A, list of exhibits 1 through 18.
Please enter into the record Exhibit A 1 through 18.
So as Ms. Limbach had referenced, this is the first of 2 public hearings today for 2 separate QuikTrip sites that are very similar in nature in terms of the scope of the project that's going to occur. So in front of you here is the an aerial photo of the existing conditions with squeaky clean at the north end of the project site and the existing QuikTrip on the south side, abutting 3rd Street. So essentially the ask is to approve a preliminary development plan that calls for the demolition of the car wash, construction of the new QuikTrip on the north side of the site, and then once that is open, as has been previously referenced, the old site will be demolished. This shows the existing zoning nature of the area. We are adjacent to the highway. We are in a transition area from our more intensive industrial and commercial uses right along 3rd Street and US 50 highway. Going eastward along 3rd Street corridor, you do have quite a bit of commercial before you get to residential. And here to the north and to the west, or to the north and to the east, rather, you do have a number of single-family and multifamily existing subdivisions. So we are dealing with an existing site where there are 2 buildings, and ultimately one will be constructed. At the far south end of the site is currently shown just as green open space. At this time, the future development plans for that south piece is yet to be determined. But at some point when QuikTrip, if and when QuikTrip decides to develop something on that site, this will come through back in front of you as a new preliminary development plan. But as you can see here, the activity that will occur with redevelopment will all occur on the north end and will constitute a new 5,300 square foot building to replace about a 4,000 square foot building. The number of existing pumps at the existing facility are 20, and the new facility will reduce that by 4 to yield 16 fueling stations. There was a neighborhood meeting held on June 18th. There were 4 members of the public present. There was no opposition that was expressed at that meeting. Some of the topics of discussion were just site plan, layout, access points, and landscaping. Here's just a close-up view showing some landscaping. And this drawing does not reflect some of the changes that have been made that Ms. Lindbach pointed out with the inclusion of some additional evergreens. And that was in response to some thoughts that the Planning Commission had that they wanted to see a little bit more variety as opposed to something that's predominantly deciduous in nature where you start dropping all the foliage during the fall. So they wanted to mix in some more evergreens to have year-round visual interest on the site. So the building itself is typical of what you see with their Generation 3 models. So this would be identical to what you see at their newer facilities at 150, Mulberry, and Woods Chapel. So one difference at this location would be, as you may or may not have noticed here, that the public entrances are just 2 at the front. There will be no side entrances. You do have some man doors for staff on the back, and as well as on the side, but all the public entrances to this facility will come through the front, which will be facing Blue Parkway on the east elevation. Your typical canopy here, brick columns, metal canopy fascia band. There are 2 modification requests that accompany this application. In red here, what you can see is the red represents the existing curb line at the car wash facility, the Squeaky Clean. As you make your way further south, so on here, right, north is to the right. So as you make yourself way going south, this other red line here denotes the existing curb line for the existing QuikTrip site. The blue line here shows the proposed curb line, which will push out that parking lot curb. They're on the northeast corner of the site, and what that will do is that it'll facilitate the development of the new canopy, which I can point it out here a little bit. You can kind of see a little bit of the outline, that the new canopy will come in here. So by pushing out that curb line out to the blue, it'll still allow for 2-way traffic circulation around that northeast corner of the canopy. So in essence, what they're doing is looking to match the existing curb line that's already on the further south for the QuikTrip site and just extending that to the north. The other modification has to do with the requirement for straight back curbing along the boundaries of a parking lot as well as the boundaries of all landscape islands. So the images on the right here, you can see that they're proposing to use lazy back or mountable curbs with some additional concrete to help eliminate some of the damage that can occur to landscape areas when you do have some of these larger vehicles that frequent the site to have bigger turning radii. And I know no one here has any issues maneuvering their vehicle. Everyone here is a good driver, so I'm sure no one has that issue. But there's those folks that, as you can know from visiting some of these locations that it does tend to get rutted up sometimes. So they're looking to protect that landscape area and the life of the curb by having these mountable curbs. Here's just an overview of where this site sits and what the comprehensive plan shows. The site sits in our downtown activity center area. And as I previously alluded to, it is in a transition area from more intensive uses around the interchange to the heart of downtown, which starts to transition to more residential in nature. So with this application, staff does have three recommendations, three conditions that we are recommending for approval, and two of them have to do with the modifications that I previously discussed. So at this point, I'll just yield to any questions you may have.
Okay. Thank you. Councilmember Carlisle.
Thank you. Hector, I just have one quick question that's on the last picture you just showed us about the new curbs. Are there other areas in the city in which we do these?
We have done them at, the ones that come to mind are the remodeled QuikTrip sites.
Right.
All of those did use those, incorporated that.
And so these, we already have them in the city. People drive around them all the time. It doesn't increase any kind of accident between car and pedestrian or anything like that?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Okay,
No.
I just wanted to make sure that it's not gonna, I mean, I understand the curb checks and they're all getting banged up, and I just want to make sure it's not going to make it easier for somebody to run up in an area where people might be walking. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Questions? Okay, Mr. Soto, so this is a I'll get to the public in just a bit. I'll call, after we ask questions, then I'll call for people that are for or against it, and then I'll give you plenty of time. This is a replat into two lots. I mean, well, it's already two lots because they're buying the car wash, but it's a replat, and then can you pull one of them up of the plat? Yeah. So you've got lot one on the right, and then there's lot two, or are they not subdividing lot two? Because the way this reads, I've seen lot one and lot two, but then I'm not seeing the PDP, the definition of lot two. Does that make sense?
Right, yes. So at this time, they are two separately platted lots. There's the car wash site and the QuikTrip sit on two separately platted lots. With this proposal, those two lots will be merged. So this will just yield one contiguous lot.
So we're not pulling out the lot on the left that I see on the screen?
No, at this time, it's just going to be open green
Okay,
space.
so if you wanted to subdivide that later on for the applicant, you would do that later on at another point. Okay. May I ask about approximately how big that is and how big's that smaller lot? How much is this altogether? How many acres is this? Is it?
No, in total, it's about 2.6 acres.
2.6, so this is
Yes.
like 1.7, it's almost 2 acres, probably. And then the lot would be, the frontage would be a half acre to 0.75 acres, something along those
Thereabouts,
lines.
it's less than 3/4 of an acre,
Yeah,
yes.
okay. And then currently trying to picture, I've been there a million times. So this first entrance that we're seeing that would go to that, yeah, that one. That's existing right now, is it not? Yeah.
Yeah, so there are 3 existing access points. This one here will shift a little bit down to clear space for that.
It's a really high traffic area, and that's a very busy QuikTrip. So I'm just trying to picture, I'm trying to picture all the issues.
So this image here it's got the underlying aerial photo, so you can see that the existing curb cut middle one is here, and it's going to shift down to the south about 35 feet. That way it stays clear of the canopy and still allows for that in and out traffic through here.
Okay, so I'm going to ask Ms. Limbach a question. On that front part there in front of the canopy, that's usually the area that's probably the most difficult to navigate in all QuikTrips, I think. So is there plenty of room there where you were talking about where you don't want cars, trucks to park and things like that?
Are you speaking of this area right here?
Yeah.
Yes,
About how far is that, like, and how do you make your calculations on that? 'Cause I know you guys have this down to a science, but
Yeah.
at the same
Let me see
time.
if his has the dimensions on here. So honestly, when our engineers are laying out these sites, you're right, they have become kind of experts in parking lot safety, and we always try to operate at optimal dimensions and stay away from the minimum dimensions that you might see at a lot of sister type of gas stations that you struggle to get in and out of. And yes, we understand that the parking lot as it sits today is very hard to get in and out of. It's safe for me to say I don't like going into some of our Generation 2.5 stores because the parking lots are significantly smaller. And that's been one of our lead driving initiatives. And with our Gen 3 stores is safer, larger parking lots with more than enough room to have two cars pass by one another. And we really try to push those optimal dimensions on our plans if the site allows, and this one does allow for that. So we don't have our minimum dimensions with this one.
Can I just ask, do you guys ever do any kind of signage as in preferred directional in your parking lots, or do you just leave that to?
A lot of our stores that have the diesel bay or larger truck fueling stations, we tend to use directional signage, especially to try to make sure cars use a certain entrance and trucks use a separate. We don't use them as much on sites like this that don't have that diesel option. But if there was something that the city was wanting to see, we'd definitely be open to adding signage that you would see necessary.
I'm not saying that. I'm just asking because, like in that front area, it's like if there was when you walk down the sidewalk, a lot of times you veer to the right because that's what we do. And when you're driving a vehicle, when you're in a parking lot, it just seems like people kind of don't have a norm as much. Just an idea for the future.
No, I definitely agree with you, and definitely with the Planning Commission bringing up their concerns with trucks stacking along this edge, and we totally agreed with that comment, and that's why adding those five signs along that frontage will hopefully stop that.
Okay. Councilmember Carlisle?
Thank you. Just one quick question. So that entrance there furthest to the south, or I guess, yeah, is that an entrance or can you only exit there?
This is currently a right-in, right-out, and it will remain a right-in, right-out.
will?
Yes.
Okay.
Because it will still be median bound like it is today.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and open this up to the public. So this would be the time. Anybody that wishes to speak in favor or in opposition to the application, please go ahead and come forward. Yes, you do. You have to come forward to a microphone so that you can be heard and on the public record. Yeah, I'd also ask that, did you stand up whenever we asked everybody to swear in? Because I have to ask you to do that. Could you be sworn in by our city clerk, please? I did. Oh, good, perfect. Come on forward then.
Sorry.
You're.
So, as a resident off of 2nd Street, my concern is it looks like that all of the, and I could be wrong here, are all the pumps there along 2nd Street? And then there's open area on 3rd Street?
Yes, the open area on Third Street is
So
going
why
to.
didn't they flip it? Why isn't that open area over where the residential area is? It's already loud and noisy, and we have the car lot there to keep some of the noise down. So now everything's moving over to Second Street, and there's a lot of residential houses there. And there's a lot of activity, there's a lot of traffic. There's ambulances, there's everything that comes down Second Street, goes right by this QuikTrip. So I just don't, like I said, as a resident, I'm a little concerned. I'm concerned how the construction is going to be and how it's going to affect us getting in and out of our homes. That's about it.
All right, thank you. Would anybody else like to come forward? All right. Additional questions from council? Yeah, go ahead, Councilmember Carlo.
Thank you. Just real quick, do we have a timeline on this? Either anybody can answer. Yeah.
No set timeline. We're just working our way. This is obviously just a preliminary development plan. We would then have to go through the final development plan, but definitely working as quickly as we can. I know that for most people, they probably want that car wash down sooner rather than later. So that's probably next on our priority list, is trying to get the eyesore of the car wash.
And that's what I was going to speak to. It's, you guys own that car wash now, right? Because since it has shut down, I mean, it was never beautiful. But now what landscaping they did have is completely overgrown. There's garbage in there. I mean, I just drove by it this afternoon and I was like, oh, that is so disgusting and ugly. So I understand you want to get it down as soon as possible, but could we put it back into at least the best looking state we could get it while we're waiting for that to happen?
Yes,
And because the QuikTrip is clean and picked up and stuff's mowed and trimmed, and then it's like, and you guys own the whole thing. So I'd think that should have the same standard across.
I agree with you, and I will make a call to my facility manager in the morning and make sure we get a crew out there to get the grass mowed. And but I did talk with my construction manager yesterday, and he's trying to get bids together for a demo contractor. So I'll make sure that we take better care of it until
Yeah, I just don't want it to become a public nuisance where, you know, there's
And neither
over
do
there
we.
off Second Street, there's kids that live over there
Yeah.
and they could just, you know, and even when it goes into demolition, they could go over there and get in trouble somehow. You know,
No.
I just don't want that to happen.
Yeah, I agree. And originally, we just had, I want to say, some rope and things up, and then we moved to getting the larger bollards put up so cars couldn't pull in. But I totally see your concern, and I will make sure that we stay on top of that.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Councilmember Lovell.
Thanks, Mayor. So on that south side, I think she was asking, are those parking spots? Because it shows like on the north side, the far north side. Are those just parking spots there?
These are parking spots, and I'm not sure if she was referring to this
Yeah.
box here. These are our underground gasoline tanks.
Okay. So there's no, in fact, I mean, if you looked at where the current gas stations or the pumps sit, it's maybe up and diagonal a little bit, but not much.
Yeah, and we would consider these like our employee parks, so.
No charging stations?
Not yet. I know that there's,
I know someone that would
there's a
like
lot
some.
there's a lot of talk and I don't think that we're anywhere near that. But I will say that there's people up in QuikTrip that are working with contractors and working through what that would look like for us in the
Great.
future, so.
And then maybe for staff, I would think this additional entrance, even though it's currently an entrance, but there's nothing going to it, should ease some of the congestion going in and out, right? Because now we have that entrance point on Second Street instead of having to come around and go in that one entrance point.
Yeah.
So, and I, you know, if I'm seeing this right, we're lessening the impact of that congestion in that one spot.
I agree with
Would-
that statement.
Was there anything, I mean, from a noise standpoint, I mean, I'm guessing it falls within, this, again, this might be for staff, but it's fall within what it already is, like, just addressing that concern there that there's gonna be more noise. I mean, I guess there would be during construction, but, I mean, insignificant impact with the decibel ratings or anything like that, right? It would still be similar to what it is today.
Right. The use is similar. So yeah, save for any construction activity, the decibel levels would be expected to be the same.
All right, thanks. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Pryor.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councilmember Level, because I was going to see if they could address her questions, but I just also wanted to clarify. So there will not be any gas pumps along Second Street, correct? They'll just be pretty much where they already are?
This structure right here shows the 16 fueling stations. So it's what we call a double stack, like you guys have at that location today, a double stack canopy, meaning 2 rows of 8. So there'll be 16 fueling stations with 1 on each side.
And I think it would make more sense. This is trucks over along 3rd Street, right? That's where the semi-trucks and stuff will park?
Oh, this gas station will not service semi-trucks. We will not have, normally if we have a large truck offer, their canopy is separate from this canopy, and this will not be for large vehicles of that nature.
Okay, I thought
This
you
would
had
be
said
more of like your Amazon
must have been-
trucks. So
Okay.
like your lawn care trucks
Okay.
that park here and your Amazon trucks, we're hoping that they're gonna utilize these floating parks, staying out of the way, staying away from the entrances. We find a lot of value in having floating parks within our parking lot.
I think that makes more sense to have that over there, and employee parking next to the residential versus the other way around. It would be
Yes.
quieter that way, I think.
Yeah, so
Okay.
our employees will park over here.
Okay. And then, do you anticipate Second Street being shut down at any time during the construction? Do you know if there's any plans for that?
Honestly, I do not, especially with this access point remaining the same. Some people might question why there's not parking on the north side of the building, and if you've been out there and you've experienced the dramatic grade changes, we weren't able to make parking spaces ADA compliant, and it didn't really make sense for the drop-off that it has. So our goal is to gradually kind of even out this grade as you're coming into the site, and then people hopefully find a parking spot over here or even over here, which is probably the furthest spot from residential, do their business and see their way out.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Councilmember Shields.
Thank you, Mayor. Just for a little bit more clarity about the pumps, could we either see the overlay that shows the current aerial map and the new site plan, or the one that has like the old stuff in red? Yeah, like that's great. The one
like
you're just
this?
on. Yeah, so I think just if you were curious about, or if the audience members of the community that are here were curious about where the pumps are. So can you show like where they currently are?
So this is the current pump canopy, and like Hector mentioned, this had 20 fueling stations, and then this is the current store.
And then the new one will be
And then-
just a little bit north of that?
Yes.
Okay, but not right up against the street, and a little smaller. Okay. Yeah, I think that's just helpful to visualize what's changing. So, thank you, that's all I had.
All right, thank you. Okay, we're in the portion that says any additional questions from council. Looks like we've done the rounds on that. Ms. Limbach, do you have any further comment to make? Thank you. I am going to close the public hearing and reopen the regular session. Is there any council discussion on this application? Councilmember Shields.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a site that I drive by pretty often and visit occasionally, and I think this is a good project. It's definitely going to improve that area that is run down. It's not looking great. Like I think it's been mentioned, a lot of trash, a lot of overgrown, and I think this will be a nice change to that neighborhood and really just improve the overall look. So I'd support this. I'm excited to see it renovated. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm kind of glad that on that north side where you could not put the parking in, I mean, I think it's always tough when you pull in and you got them parking immediately because people are pulling out and pulling in. So even though that you couldn't put parking there, that's probably a positive. It'll help with the flow. Because that's the thing about QuikTrip is everybody wants to go there, so it's always congested. So all the extra parking on the south side is excellent. hopefully the landscape guys will use that whenever they bring their trucks in and such. So, and then you've got a right in, right out on that furthest exit south. So I'm assuming that if you were to subdivide it and plat it off, they would have to use that other entrance, that middle entrance for access if you were to get to that south side. So probably a little bit safer, Mr. Soto, you can just kind of nod, a little bit safer by moving that entrance this way too, right? Further in the middle rather than by 2nd Street. So just a lot of improvements that hopefully will make this a little bit safer area and, like you said, a lot better looking. So with that said, let's ask Councilmember Pryor to please read Bill number 24-144.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to advance to a second reading, Bill number 24-144, an ordinance approving a preliminary development plan for land located at 1001 and 1005 South Blue Parkway for QuikTrip, all in accordance with the provisions of Chapter 33, the Unified Development Ordinance of the Code of Ordinances for the City of Lee Summit, Missouri.
Thank you. We have a motion to move to second reading. Bill number 24-144 by Councilmember Pryor, seconded by Councilmember Hodges. Discussion? Seeing none, please cast your vote. All votes are in. Please record the vote. It does pass unanimously. We're going to try to push through and get through the second public hearing really quick since it's similar. So I'm going to close the regular session and open the public hearing. In the matter of agenda item 5B, this is a preliminary development plan, QuikTrip, 801 Southeast 291 Highway and 702 Southeast Blue Parkway. QuikTrip Corporation is the applicant. Would all those wishing to speak to this matter please rise and be sworn in by the city clerk? Ms. Limbach, you got another presentation?
Okay. This next site that I have in front of you is QuikTrip number 162. This is our QuikTrip closest to Lee Summit High School. As most of you know, the 50 and 291 interchange project has been in the works for 6 or 7 years now. I'm actually the 7th project manager for QuikTrip who has taken over this project, and my goal is to see it to completion. So this is kind of an overlay of what we have right now with the current store and the current Blue Parkway outer road. I'm sure you guys are kind of up to date on what the plans are as far as what is going to be happening with this roadway, but here is just an overview site plan with north being up. You've probably also recognized this rendering of what the project should look like when it's all said and done with the new QuikTrip 162 sitting right off of the highway. Just like my last presentation, here is a good relation of old store to new store. The current store being in red, so this is the store, and this is the canopy. Our new proposed store is the same square footage of the last store that you saw, and as well as any new store that you've been in within Lee Summit. It's our Gen 3 store. With this, the access points, this is a right in, right out, and this access point down here is a full access. As Hector said on the last presentation, QuikTrip's really changed their philosophies on just putting side doors on every single building. We try to be really purposeful whenever we're doing it. So you will only see side doors on our buildings if the canopy is out that side. And in this case, the canopy sits out to the left of the store, and so that's why you see one door on one elevation and not one on the other. Here's a rendering of what the store would look like. And just like I did on the last presentation, one of the big comments in Planning Commission was wanting to see evergreen trees. So along this western edge, so as you get off 50 Highway, turn right onto 291 and approach our site, we did add 4 evergreen trees. We also have a proposed 4 over in the corner that we originally had, but the Planning Commission really wanted some along the frontage. A few comments that we made to them was that screening wasn't a huge priority on this side, as the site does slope down, so it's almost like the site is lower than road grade, but we were happy to suffice and put some evergreens along that frontage for visual appeal. And that's all I got.
All right, thank you. We'll come back for questions after we hear from Mr. Satow.
Satow Jr., Senior Planner. I'd like to enter into the record Exhibit A list of exhibits 1 through 18.
Please enter into the record Exhibit A 1 through 18.
So as has already been touched upon, this project is for the redevelopment of the QuikTrip site. So here you see essentially the outline of the affected properties. So with this project, the existing QuikTrip will go away. The existing former Hob building, Wild Child building will go away. And this site will be reconstructed further south and will call for the realignment of Blue Parkway. Existing zoning, similar to the previous application, you have your more intensive, typically you have your more intensive zoning districts closer to the arterial streets or highways. In this case, you have a mixture of mostly commercial and industrial zoning along the 291 and 50 corridors. The ag zoning for the Highway Patrol facility is a bit of an anomaly, but not necessarily unusual for government buildings. The basic, I guess, characteristics of this facility, as Ms. Lindbach had mentioned, are identical to the previous one. It's a 5,300 square foot building, replacing another 4,000 square foot building. In this one, the existing facility has 16 islands or 16 fueling stations. This one, the configuration is going to be more linear in nature, but the total number of pumps will not change from the existing facility to the new one. So whereas the other one went from 20 to 16, this one has 16 and will stay at 16. So this particular image was just provided to see if it might help picture exactly what will happen with the road alignment. So here in gray, you see everything, or in the darker colors, are the existing conditions of the site. The Hob, Wild Child building, the existing QuikTrip facility. In here, I called out the center line of what will be the relocated 7th Terrace and Blue Parkway. So you can see how, similar to Ms. Lindbach's drawing, it kind of helps provide a little bit of reference, point of reference is exactly how the road realignment impacts existing conditions. There was a neighborhood meeting held on this one as well. 3 members of the public attended. Similar to the last one, access, landscaping, some of the modifications were discussed, and at that time there were no comments that were provided to show any opposition to the project. This one again is another kind of perspective of what the site or the area will look like upon completion of the project and realignment of the roads. 7th Terrace again will, well, as you're familiar, has that east-west straight line configuration there along the south boundary of all of these industrial and commercial buildings. It'll dip down and tee into the relocated Blue Parkway, and there will be a new access, public street access road that allow for the continued vehicular and pedestrian connectivity to these existing buildings there that are impacted by the relocation of the street. Ms. Limbaugh pointed out that this one will have 3 access points, and this west elevation here will have the door that faces the new canopy. Similar to the previous application, there is a modification request to the parking lot setback. So here, everything that's shaded in this rose color is encroaches into the 20-foot setback requirement from the public rights-of-way. But as you can see, a characteristic that is pretty common for most properties that abut or front on MoDOT properties, that there's an overabundance of right-of-way, so there's still quite a bit of separation that still will remain in place between the development itself and the edge of the parking lot to the nearest travel lanes on the adjoining streets. I believe at this point, along the east, just to put some numbers to it, at the far north end, the existing, or rather the proposed parking setback will be about 6 feet versus the required 20. And along the west boundary of the site, along the 291 lanes, there'll be a 15-foot parking lot setback versus 20. Again, similarly to the other project, or asking for mountable curbing to help maintain the life of those the curb and the landscape areas. Signage, they're asking for a total of 4 signs. For a single tenant commercial building, by right they're allowed 3. They're looking to do 4 with 3 facing on the north elevation, and then 1 facing the south elevation, which would be facing US 50 highway travel lanes. The comp plan here shows, typical to major thoroughfare types of locations. You do have primarily commercial perspective or future land use called out along those corridors here in the cardinal color. And here you see in Aubergine, you see some industrial uses to the east. So there are 5 conditions of approval associated with this one. The 5th condition of approval was born out of some discussion or concerns at the Planning Commission regarding whether or not this application, in their view, may or may not be premature, given that the adjacent 290-150 highway improvements, the horizon on those are in the 2-year neighborhood. PDPs are valid for a period of 2 years, and there was just some concern that there were still some aspects of the agreements or memorandums of understanding between the city and QuikTrip, and still some other moving parts with MoDOT that still have yet to be wrapped up. There was just some concern that perhaps this application was premature, so they've made a recommendation that the city council not take final action on this application until a memorandum of understanding is executed between the city and QuikTrip. So at this point, what I would like to do, I'm going to be passing this along to our council to touch a little bit more on condition number 5 and answer any questions associated with them that you might have.
Okay. Mr. Bushak.
David Bushak, Chief Counsel of Economic Development and Planning. So I will address condition number 5, and this speaks to the timing of the project, timing of this project in relation to the interchange project. At the Planning Commission, I think the general concern that the Planning Commission expressed, and they've expressed this in other contexts generally, is the concern of the City Council approving the zoning application before there's certainty that the project will move forward. And so the Planning Commission tied that concern to the agreement that we've been negotiating with QuikTrip. We've been negotiating a memorandum of understanding with QuikTrip for quite some time. And I can give you an update as of today, as of up to the minute. This is based on discussions that I had with QuikTrip this afternoon. So this is the latest information that we have. That agreement, the text of that agreement is finished. We've reached agreement with QuikTrip on the body of the agreement. There's 4 exhibits. 2 of the exhibits are finished, and we're finishing up the final 2 exhibits. One of them is the schedule, and I just received an update from our Public Works Department today on the schedule, so we have a good update on that.
I will be transmitting that to QuikTrip. Presumably, they'll review that and approve it. And then the final exhibit is a holdover license agreement, depending on the timing of the property swap when we get to that point later. Not a big concern, really. But the Planning Commission's concern was, as I said, they ideally don't want you to act on the zoning until we know that agreement has been executed. That's the way they expressed it. So you have this condition, and this is the specific condition. The wording of this condition, you may pick up, doesn't quite work in this context because this condition in the ordinance, which is expressed as a limitation on your second reading, would have already happened by the time you pass this ordinance. So it's kind of circular maybe. So I think we have a solution, and this is what we figured out. Tonight, we believe you can go forward, pass this ordinance, you can leave this condition in here because we'll solve for that. And then on September 3rd, I believe we'll be prepared to bring the ordinance forward where you will review and approve the memorandum of understanding with QuikTrip. And then on September 10th, the second reading of that ordinance for the MOU with QuikTrip and this zoning ordinance can occur simultaneously. And that would address the Planning Commission's concern of acting on the zoning before the agreement's finished. So if this, if you move forward with first reading tonight and this plays out as we've sort of game planned, on September 10th, you would be taking final action on both ordinances, and I think that would solve the issue. And in the meantime, we will take condition 5 out of this ordinance, so when it appears back before you for second reading, we'll have a substitute bill, this condition will go away, and I think we've solved the problem. So that's my summary of this issue.
Okay. And Ms. Limbach, you guys are good with that? Second reading? You understand, you followed all that? All right. If council has questions on it, though, this would be the time to talk to Mr. Bushek. And also any other questions you may have, but you might want to start with that one, if you could. Councilmember DeMauro.
Thank you. Mr. Bushek, regarding condition number 5. So this will all be cleaned up in our first meeting in September, correct? Is that what you said? I believe you said that.
So here's what we plan to do. If you move forward with first reading tonight, on September 3rd, we'll have the first reading of that MOU ordinance, and then second reading of that ordinance and this ordinance will both occur on September 10th.
So, but you also said before the dates that things were pretty well finished. I mean, you had talked to QuikTrip today.
Correct.
So I'm wondering why keep the recommendation number 5 in when, I guess I should ask Ms. Limbach if she's losing any time over this if we wait.
So I'll address the mechanics of that specifically. We talked about, there are really two options. You could, tonight, when you make your motion, also include an amendment to eliminate condition 5, if you'd like, or we plan on doing what I said, which is we will bring forward a substitute bill at second reading, and condition 5 will be eliminated. So, 6 one way, half a dozen the other.
But we would have to, you can do that administratively, or we'll have to do it on the dais on September 10th.
We will, if we do the substitute ordinance version, then you won't have to amend it. It will be presented to you without condition number 5 in the bill.
And then if I could address Ms. Limbach, are you losing any time waiting what would be 3 weeks?
I don't believe we're not losing any time. Our goal is to get our preliminary plans accepted and supported by the city, and then do our part to move this project forward. We do own the building behind the QuikTrip, the Wild Child, and one of the early steps in this process is to demo that building, bring that site up to grade, let that dirt settle, and then that road can be put in. So that's really going to have to be something that we kick off pretty early on in the scope of the full project. So QuikTrip is just trying to push it along and be the supportive piece in this and not cause the project to lag in any way. So.
But, I mean, it would be 20 days. You'd wait 20 days from tonight before we would actually hear it again. So is 20 days valuable? Are you going to lose any grading time, anything? Or will you won't be ready until September 10th then, anyway, right?
I mean, our big focus right now is getting the MOU approved, and like you stated, we're just waiting on those final 2 exhibits. Once we get them, to review them and kind of sign and stamp that MOU. So we are about as close as we could be without it being signed. So
Construction time, you're not going to lose anything.
no, construction time is,
Not construction time, but land clearance and grading and things like that.
yeah, correct. That's definitely down the road, but this is, we won't lose any time.
Okay, that's what I wanted to hear.
You're good.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Before we go on, I just want to clarify, Mr. Bushek, September 3rd, memorandum of understanding, first reading. September 10th, second reading of that memo of understanding, and then also second reading of this ordinance without number 5.
Correct.
Got it. Mayor Pro Tem Lopez.
You just stole my thunder.
I just want to make sure we didn't keep going because it was.
No, yeah, that was exactly the question I was going to have, or I was going to ask. And also, given the questions that Councilmember DeMauro and the answers, how they were answered, I don't see a need for number 5 in there. And there's no other body, no other city body that wants this to happen more than this body. All the work that we've put into this and the effort, so I'm okay with removing it. And I know this is not for opinion right now, but
Thank you.
thank you.
All right. Other questions for applicant or staff? I'll just ask a couple questions. So on the road, I guess it's be Mr. Soto. Pull up the outer road for me, sir. Yeah. Whatever one you want. Well, that one, no. That one doesn't show the median and all that good stuff.
Oh,
all the
okay.
details.
This one here?
Yeah. So show the median. That's the median. And then right there, you've got this middle lane. How does this work? Because that's not a left-hand turn lane into QuikTrip because you can't turn left there. So what's going on? What's this middle lane?
That will be a eastbound left turn lane for 7th Terrace.
Oh, gotcha. So you gotta, if you want, no, that's not right. Eastbound, left turn lane. Yeah. So as soon as you pass the median, you gotta get in the left-hand turn lane to take left on the 7th Terrace. Got it. All right. Yeah, now I can see why you put the entrance where you did because of that, right? Otherwise, you'd had 2 cars coming, wanting to turn left at the same time into QuikTrip. Okay, so the only entrance from the left, from the east, would be at the bottom, which would be the south side. Okay. You got a left-hand turn lane for that, so that's nice. Because there's not a left-hand turn lane on that road right now for any. So we're widening that. That's why the road's so wide. Okay, in your rendering. Got it. Okay. Those are my questions. All right, is there anybody here wishing to speak for or against this application? Please come forward. Ms. Limbach, do you have any further comment? All right. Hearing no further testimony, I'm closing the public hearing and reopening the regular session. Is there any council discussion on this application? Councilmember Hodges.
Thank you. I just want to say how excited I am for this. This is in my district, and just to see how open the new plan is and that I won't have to go there and say, nope, not going there anymore because it looks like an accident waiting to happen. So I'm super excited for this. And just as a side note, I think it's super awesome that you were grown up in Lee Summit and you worked your way up from the bottom, so kudos to you. So thanks, you did a great job tonight.
Thank you. Councilmember Shields.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm also obviously in support of this. As has been said, this is something we've been working towards for a very long time. So we really appreciate how willing QuikTrip has been to work with us on this project. I think the mayor said in the State of the City that this is a 5 different jurisdiction project that's been going on for a very long time. We're very excited this is one more step towards that. I would support dropping that condition 5. It doesn't seem like it's really necessary. But yeah, I'm in full support of this. Looks great. Thank you.
Yes, lots of moving parts on this one. Councilmember DeMauro.
Thank you. I also am excited. This is my district also, and I'm very excited. I think that I've actually aged in the parking lot trying to get out of it. I can always get in, but I can't get out. So it's like they catch you, but you can't get out. But anyway, good job. Excited to have another new QuikTrip, you know, even though it's a replacement. But yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Second, I was just going to say real quick, I too typically drive by and don't go in, but I do usually go to the north one in Lee Summit because these big parking lots and the access in and out, get QuikTrip, you know, it's worth the drive. So, and I live on the west side of town, we're by the other QuikTrip, but this looks really nice, and hopefully it'll positively impact that whole area and make that interchange safe and safer, and so thank you for moving this forward. Seeing no further questions or comments, council member, who's got this one? Hodges, would you please read bill number? I'm sorry.
24. 4-145.
4-145, thank you.
So I advance to second reading Bill number 24-145, an ordinance approving a preliminary development plan for land located at 801 Southeast M291 Highway and 702 Southeast Blue Parkway for QuikTrip, all in accordance with the provisions of Chapter 33, the Unified Development Ordinance of the Code of Ordinances for the City of Lee Summit, Missouri.
Thank you. I have a motion to move to second reading. Bill number 24-145 by Councilmember Hodges, seconded by Councilmember Shields. Discussion? Yes, Councilmember Shields.
Thank you, Mayor. I would move to amend the ordinance to remove condition 5 from the conditions of approval.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion to amend it to remove the fifth condition. Mr. Bishek, is that what you wanted? You wanted an amendment to remove that?
That works.
It works? You can explain to Planning Commission why we did that so that they're not offended?
Yes.
Okay, just that we took it under consideration. We found a solution outside of requiring it so that we don't have to remove it
And
on
that
September 10th.
Correct. And that
Okay.
explanation is consistent with what I did tell them at the Planning Commission meeting.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
You've been that far ahead of me this whole time. Not surprised. Thank you, sir. We have a motion to amend, removing condition 5 on the floor. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, please cast your vote on the motion to amend. All votes are in. Please record the vote. That bill is amended to remove condition 5. Now that motion is still on the floor for the, basically the PDP for the QuikTrip at 291 and 50. Any further discussion on that? Seeing none, please cast your vote. All votes are in. Please record the vote. It does pass unanimously. So September 3rd, a memorandum of understanding. September 10th, second reading of both that one and this one. So thank you for reinvesting in Lee Summit. So we'll do public comment and we'll take a break. So public comments, we have Ms. Fallenweider here. Mr. Mussett, are you going to want to speak tonight? No? Okay. Thank you, sir.
Teresa Vollenweider, 5201 Northeast Maybrook Road. Nathan and Laura Sanko's fence. It is in the right-of-way, but they don't own that property, because the west 533 feet of the southeast quarter of the northeast quarter of that section, they have an exception in their deed, except that part in Maybrook Road. So they have fencing. They were allowed to keep fencing, even with a license agreement, they were allowed to keep fencing in the right-of-way when they don't have title to that property. This is Nathan and Laura Sanko's property, or it's not their property, but that's ornamental grass that is located in the right-of-way. And that fencing is also in the right-of-way. Again, they don't even have title to that land. Yet that is literally right across the street from where Public Works told Derek Collins that he could continually tear out things that I had planted on my property and knock in the right-of-way. That be something like that. Everything that was here was on my property. Yet it was torn out and thrown because this is the right-of-way, but yet the city let them tear stuff out from there. I want to know, why am I being discriminated against? If this is where the mark is, there's a pink mark there, and it was Public Works that put this down, and they marked the center line of the road, so they knew that I owned a piece of property there that was not in the right-of-way. This again shows the grass right next to the road. It was right across from me. Tore mine out. Lies. More lies.
All right, thank you, Ms. Vollenweider. We're going to take a break. Let's just make it 10 minutes so that we can finish up.
Welcome to the Lee Summit Sign Department. We are going to walk you through our process from start to finish. We make signs as needed here. It's not like we just go out into the field and place a speed limit sign here, or no parking here. Our traffic engineers, they go through and they'll do field studies. They'll send us down an engineering work order for us to go out, place new signs or remove signs as needed. Coming from the material, our blanks come in and they're just aluminum blanks. We can put our white, our red, our fluorescent yellow, green, whatever. And basically what it looks like is just that there. Throw it up into the roller. And once we got it covered, take it to our work table here, and Tim will cut the corners, cut all the access off to where it's lined up right. As far as the plotter and the software that we use, there's a street name sign there, and he's gonna go ahead and print that out on the plotter so you can see the plotter and how it operates and runs. There's standards for the height, even just on letters on the sign blank. Basically what we have on the computer there is it's pretty much set up to those. And it goes through, it's got a very small but sharp needle that goes through and cuts everything out, letter by letter. Once that's done cutting, our next stage would be bringing it over here. Currently picking out the sign letters right now. We call it weeding or picking or however you want to call it. Next, putting it on the transfer tape. Then after it's taped, we bring it over to the roller. That's where we apply it to the actual sign blank. And we'll roll it through one time just to get the air bubbles out. And the last stage is basically just taking the transfer tape off the front of it. and there's a finished product of the street name sign. We'll take you out to the field and show you our process that we go through. We're gonna go out and follow our sign guys, get something installed for you. This is where we check our underground utilities. Tim, you got AT&T? AT&T's back here. Evergy, Google, so we should be good to go. We normally put all of our stuff together out in the field. Then once the base is installed, we'll go ahead and put the post in there. We've come up to perfect. And that's how we do it. Simple, quick.
Traditionally, we think as police officers, those responding to law enforcement needs within the community. But honestly, we are there to serve our citizens, and our citizens do go into crisis. They do have mental health crises, and we're being called to those scenes on a regular basis. In order to help serve those citizens better, we did initiate the Crisis Intervention Team Program. These are officers that are specially trained to de-escalate crisis situations. Recently, we've brought co-responders onto the scene, licensed qualified mental health professionals housed within our police department, and they respond with those officers directly to those scenes where a crisis is occurring so they can interact with that citizen and get them the help they need right there on that scene.
The co-responders are either a bachelor or master level in a behavioral health related field. They wear plain clothes, they don't carry weapons or anything like that.
I have a police radio that I listen to all day. Listen for, those key words: mental health, behavioral health, crisis.
There's a lot of officers that just call for me. I have my own radio number.
I also have the ability to self-dispatch to them and say 982 is en route.
Officers en route, 914.
So typically I arrive after they've made it safe. I'll make contact and get kind of the rundown, and then I just kind of jump right in.
Like, hey, my name's Allison. I'm a mental health professional. I'm here to help you. I'm not here to take you to jail or arrest you.
Sometimes all a person needs is a voice, someone neutral, someone outside that, can listen. I do a lot of safety planning, including family, their support network, who's close to you. If they're home alone, who can come over and hang out with you today? Can we lock away your sharps? Can we put up your meds? Do you need meds? Can we get you over to the urgent care to get you assessed for your medications? Some of them also are like, oh, I'm so glad you came. This made me feel so much better.
Our main goal as the co-responders is to, one, get people connected to the services that they need, and also divert from emergency rooms and jails.
And they almost get a different view of the police responding. That lets me know you care and the officers care.
Please, how can we help you?
My husband has...
In 2020, we had 722 mental health related calls for service. 2022, by that time, 1,479. These mental health related calls for service are increasing. How we're responding to that is increasing the number of crisis intervention team officers we have available, as well as the number of co-responders we have available to respond on these calls.
So what I think is important for the community to know about the co-responder program is that we're here, we exist. All you have to do when you call 911 is ask for us. Say, hey, I want a co-responder to respond to this crisis, and we'll go. I was really struggling about 8 years ago on my personal journey with mental health, and I met some amazing social workers and amazing programs that have helped me get to where I am today. I really couldn't see myself doing anything else. We want to help, and that's what we love to do.
So I had a client, we got a call, she had some suicidal ideations, and she really felt that she had nobody. And and getting to know her story and getting to know who comes around and sees you, well, then we found a support person, and they responded immediately, and we made a plan. I called back and checked on her in an hour, and then I checked on her in 2 hours. We were able to get her into the additional services to where she talks to someone every week or more. I just took a person that really just thought they had nobody and nobody would show up for them, and show them you do. And you'll be amazed who is in your corner if you just simply say, I need a little help.
When the person called on the phone, she said that there was a dinosaur walking down her road. Of course, we had to go out and check that out. We get out there, and it was a big African tortoise. probably 60 pounds, walking down the road. When they walk, they really stand up tall, so I could see why she thought it was a dinosaur. I'm Rodney Wagner. I'm the manager of Lee Summit Animal Control. So as you can see, we get all sorts of animals here. You got some guinea pigs off to the side. All the windows up here are animals that are adoptable right now. Every one of these dogs is ready to go and ready for adoption. And the same thing with our cats over here. A lot of cool cats in here now, so this is our 3-acre lot we have out back. This is where we do all the walking of dogs, exercise. We also have a side yard off to the side over there, so we can let them run loose. They can run together, and then we have what's called play groups. Kind of like having a bunch of kids. Here's our vet room. We have a vet that comes out twice a week. This is our Sally Port where we bring the animals into. This is one of our animal control trucks, and we can hold up to 6 animals. We have a lift on the other side to put big animals in. We actually have temperature gauges in here and in the truck to tell us how hot it is. Once it gets to a certain temperature, we bring all the animals back here immediately. So this actually has traps in it, but we do a lot of wildlife trapping. I mean, a lot. So bats, potbelly pigs, horses, cows, emus, a lot of reptiles. We had a citizen one time that had over 200 reptiles in his basement. Caimans and alligators in here that are 4 or 5 feet long. You can't keep those. And people do, and they're surprised when they can't keep them. I'm like, really? You're surprised you can't have an alligator in your house? Our main goal here is public safety and also the safety of the animals. And we have very dedicated people back there, and they definitely stay here for the love of the animals, which also includes getting them adopted out. We'll have about 4,000 impounded animals a year. Probably about close to 2,000 are dogs and cats. The cats and dogs, when they get impounded here, they go on a 5-day hold. And then after the 5 days, if the owner doesn't show up, then we can put them up for adoption. To adopt an animal here is actually really simple. You just come in, look for whatever animal you're looking for, find the right pick. You go to the adoption room up there and see if you get along with them. You spend as much time as you want to in there. From that point on, it's just a matter of making sure they're spay or neutered and all their vaccinations up to par and they're good to go. We have a very high adoption rate because we try everything in our power to get animals adopted out. We have Heart of America, a Humane Society that we do a lot of adoptions through. And then we also have other groups. We have some people that literally will just look all over the country for somewhere for a dog to go. And we sent dogs up into South Dakota, North Dakota, Washington State. So it's actually, it's a huge united effort to get all these animals home.
Tarzan's got lots of energy. Hazel's got a weird meow. Belle, she wants nothing to do with the other cats. She'll kind of get her grumpy face going.
And the good thing about the people here is that they get all their friends to get animals too. All of us have probably the limit of all the animals that we can have at home. You know, they are huge animal lovers. If it was up to the people here, we'd have 15 cats running around in here. We had a citizen one time out there, and he was bathing his 2 9-foot-long boa constrictors in the front yard. Apparently, I was garnering some attention, and so we went out there and had to have a talk with him about that. Why do I do this job? Oh, dude, I love this job. I grew up on a farm, and taking care of that many animals, you can't help but like animals. This is just like fancy farming. You know, you're just bringing animals in here, taking care of them, and find them homes, and yeah, absolutely animal lover.
Okay, welcome back, everyone. We are calling this meeting to order. We are having some technical difficulties, so we may have to voice vote, which is always fun. So we'll start this off with proposed ordinances forwarded from committee. Councilmember Shields, would you please start us off with bill number 24-146?
Thank you, Mayor. I move for second reading of bill number 24-146, an ordinance approving modification number 4 to an agreement dated February 23rd, 2021 for professional engineering services for the East Fork of Little Blue Watershed River Stormwater Improvement Project sole source between the City of Lee Summit, Missouri and Allgeier Martin and Associates, Inc. for an increase of $46,612 for an amended basic services with an amended amount of $975,212 and authorizing the city manager to execute the same.
Second.
Thank you. A motion to move to second reading bill number 24-146 by Councilmember Shields, seconded by Councilmember Hodges. Discussion? You'll have to get my attention if you want discussion. All right, seeing none, can I get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember DeMoro?
Aye.
Councilmember Rader? Councilmember Lovell?
Aye.
Councilmember Hodges?
Aye.
Councilmember Pryor? Oh, and she was out there, sorry. Mayor Pro Tem Lopez?
Aye.
Councilmember Carlisle?
Aye.
Councilmember Shields?
Aye.
Mayor Barrett?
Aye. All right, that goes to second reading unanimously. Councilmember Shields, would you please read for adoption?
Thank you, Mayor. I now move for adoption of bill number 24-146, an ordinance approving modification number 4 to an agreement dated February 23rd, 2021 for professional engineering services for the East Fork of Little Blue Watershed River Stormwater Improvement Project sole source between the City of Lee Summit, Missouri and Allgeier Martin and Associates, Inc. for an increase of $46,612 for the amended basic services with an amended amount of $975,212 and authorizing the city manager to execute the same.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion motion to adopt bill number 24-146 by Councilmember Shields, seconded by Councilmember Hodges. Discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Carlisle?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Lopez?
Aye.
Councilmember Hodges?
Aye.
Councilmember Lovell?
Aye.
Councilmember DeMoro?
Aye.
Councilmember Shields?
Aye.
Mayor Barrett?
Aye, that bill is adopted unanimously. Thank you. Councilmember Hodges, would you please read bill number 24-147?
I advance to second reading bill number 24-147, an ordinance awarding the bid for project number 816 for the Crack Seal FY25 Program to Pavement Management LLC in the amount of $297,000 and authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement for the same.
Second. Thank you. We have a motion to move to second reading bill number 24-147 by Councilmember Hodges, seconded by Councilmember Shields. Discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember DeMoro?
Aye.
Councilmember Lovell?
Aye.
Councilmember Hodges?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Lopez?
Aye.
Councilmember Carlisle?
Aye.
Councilmember Shields?
Aye.
Mayor Barrett?
Aye. That moves to second reading unanimously. Councilmember Hodges, would you please?
I move for the adoption of bill number 24-147, an ordinance awarding the bid for the project number 816 for the Crack Seal FY25 Program to Pavement Management LLC in the amount of $297,000 and authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement for the same.
Thank you. We have a motion to adopt bill number 24-147 by Councilmember Hodges, seconded by
Second.
Councilmember Lovell. Discussion? Seeing none, could I get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Lovell?
Aye.
Councilmember Hodges?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Lopez?
Aye.
Councilmember Shields?
Aye.
Councilmember Carlisle?
Aye.
Councilmember DeMoro?
Aye.
Mayor Barrett?
Aye. That bill's adopted unanimously. And before we go on, can we turn the overhead off? Because I'm sorry, it just keeps, thank you, sir. Councilmember Shields, would you please read bill number 24-148?
Thank you, Mayor. I move for second reading of bill number 24-148, an ordinance authorizing the approval of a sole source agreement for the purchase of the JWC Environmental Channel Monster grinder system in the amount of $249,223 and authorizing the city manager to execute the same.
Thank you. I have a motion to move to second reading, bill number 24-148 by Councilmember Shields, seconded by Councilmember Hodges. Discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Shields?
Aye.
Councilmember Carlisle?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Lopez?
Aye.
Councilmember Hodges?
Aye.
Councilmember Lovell?
Aye.
Councilmember DeMoro?
Aye.
Mayor Barrett?
Aye. It goes for adoption. Councilmember Shields, would you please?
I now move for adoption of bill number 24-148, an ordinance authorizing the approval of a sole source agreement for the purchase of the JWC Environmental Channel Monster grinder system in the amount of $249,223 and authorizing the city manager to execute the same.
Thank you. I have a motion to adopt bill number 24-148 by Councilmember Shields, seconded by Councilmember Hodges. Discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Hodges?
Aye.
Councilmember Lovell?
Aye.
Councilmember DeMoro?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Lopez?
Aye.
Councilmember Carlisle?
Aye.
Councilmember Shields?
Aye.
Mayor Barrett?
Aye. That bill is adopted unanimously. Councilmember Shields, would you please read bill number 24-149?
I move for second reading of Bill number 24-149, an ordinance approving the agreements for the purchase of traffic signal equipment from Iteris Inc. and Gades Sales Company, and authorizing the city manager to execute agreements for the same.
Thank you. We have a motion to move to second reading, Bill number 24-149 by Councilmember Rader, seconded by Councilmember Carlisle.
Shields and Carlisle.
Councilmember Shields made the motion. Councilmember Carlisle made the second. My apologies. Thank you. Discussion. Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Shields? Councilmember Carlisle?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Lopez?
Aye.
Councilmember Hodges?
Aye.
Councilmember Lovell?
Aye.
Councilmember DeMoro?
Aye.
Mayor Baird?
Aye. That bill goes to second reading. Councilmember Shields, would you please?
I now move for adoption of Bill number 24-149, an ordinance approving the agreements for the purchase of traffic signal equipment from Iteris Inc. and Gades Sales Company, and authorizing the city manager to execute agreements for the same.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion to adopt Bill number 24-149 by Councilmember Shields, seconded by Councilmember Carlisle. Discussion. Roll call vote, please.
Sorry, Councilmember DeMoro?
Aye.
Councilmember Lovell?
Aye.
Councilmember Hodges?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Lopez?
Aye.
Councilmember Carlisle?
Aye.
Councilmember Shields?
Aye.
Mayor Baird?
Aye. That bill is adopted unanimously. Thank you. Councilmember DeMoro, would you please read Bill number 24-150?
I move to advance to second reading Bill number 24-150, an ordinance authorizing the execution of an amendment to the agreement between the City of Lee Summit, Missouri and Titan Built LLC to set guaranteed maximum price 1, GMP 1 for the police courts Phase 2 Renovations Project in the amount of $1,398,615, and authorizing the city manager to execute the same.
Second.
Thank you. A motion to move to second reading, Bill number 24-150 by Councilmember DeMoro, seconded by Councilmember Shields. Discussion. Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember DeMoro?
Aye.
Councilmember Lovell?
Aye.
Councilmember Carlisle?
Aye.
Councilmember Hodges?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Lopez?
Aye.
Councilmember Shields?
Aye.
Mayor Baird?
Aye. Councilmember DeMoro, would you please?
I move to advance for adoption Bill number 24-150, an ordinance authorizing the execution of an amendment to agreement between the City of Lee Summit, Missouri and Titan Built LLC to set guaranteed maximum price 1, GMP 1 for the police courts Phase 2 Renovations Project in the amount of $1,398,615, and authorizing the city manager to execute the same.
Thank you. We have a motion to adopt Bill number 24-150 by Councilmember DeMoro,
Second.
seconded by Councilmember Carlisle. Discussion? Please cast your vote, or please roll call vote.
Councilmember Shields?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Lopez?
Aye.
Councilmember Hodges?
Aye.
Councilmember DeMoro?
Aye.
Councilmember Lovell?
Aye.
Councilmember Carlisle?
Aye.
Mayor Baird?
Aye. That bill is adopted unanimously. Ms. Weber, are we up? No, not up. Here we go. Councilmember Lovell, would you please read Bill number 24-151?
I move to advance the second reading, Bill number 24-151, an ordinance authorizing Amendment 1 to the agreement between the City of Lee Summit, Missouri and WSKF for an amount not to exceed $27,650, and authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement for the same.
Second.
All right, thanks for sticking with us tonight. Bill number 24-151 has been read for second reading by Councilmember Lovell, seconded by Councilmember Carlisle. Discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Carlisle?
Aye.
Councilmember Lovell?
Aye.
Councilmember DeMoro?
Aye.
Councilmember Hodges?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Lopez?
Aye.
Councilmember Shields?
Aye.
Mayor Baird?
Aye. That bill goes to second reading. Councilmember Lovell, would you please?
I move for adoption, Bill number 24-151, an ordinance authorizing Amendment 1 to the agreement between the City of Lee Summit, Missouri and WSKF for an amount not to exceed $27,650, and authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement for the same.
Second.
Thank you. Councilmember Lovell has motion to adopt Bill number 24-151. Councilmember Carlisle has seconded. Discussion. Please, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember DeMoro?
Aye.
Councilmember Lovell?
Aye.
Councilmember Carlisle?
Aye.
Councilmember Hodges?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Lopez?
Aye.
Councilmember Shields?
Aye.
Mayor Baird?
Aye, that bill is adopted unanimously. Thank you. Councilmember Shields, would you please read Bill number 24-152?
Thank you, Mayor. I move for second reading of Bill number 24-152, an ordinance approving a right of entry agreement between the City of Lee Summit, Missouri and the United States Army Corps of Engineers to enter upon property for survey and exploration, and authorizing the mayor to execute the same.
Thank you. We have a motion to adopt, or move to second reading Bill number 24-152 by Councilmember Shields, seconded by Councilmember Carlisle. Discussion. Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember DeMoro?
Aye.
Councilmember Lovell?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Lopez?
Aye.
Councilmember Shields?
Aye.
Councilmember Carlisle?
Aye.
Councilmember Hodges?
Aye.
Mayor Baird?
Aye, that bill goes to second reading. Councilmember Shields, would you please?
Thank you, Mayor, and I now move for adoption of Bill Number 24-152, an ordinance approving a right of entry agreement between the City of Lee Summit, Missouri and the United States Army Corps of Engineers to enter upon property for survey and exploration and authorizing the mayor to execute the same.
Thank you. I have a motion to adopt Bill number 24-152 by Councilmember Shields, seconded by Councilmember Carlisle. Discussion. Roll call vote, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Lopez?
Aye.
Councilmember Lovell?
Aye.
Councilmember DeMoro?
Aye.
Councilmember Hodges?
Aye.
Councilmember Shields?
Aye.
Councilmember Carlisle?
Aye.
Mayor Baird?
Aye, that bill is adopted unanimously. Thank you. Are on proposed ordinances, first reading. Councilmember Hodges.
I advance to second reading Bill Number 24-153, an ordinance accepting final plat entitled Wilshire Hills, 4th Plat, Lot 5, Lot 6, and Tract A as a subdivision to the City of Lee Summit, Missouri.
Second.
Thank you. I didn't finish my sentence, but Councilmember Hodges started, and so I don't know why I glitched, but I did. Thank you for reading that. We have a motion to move to second reading, Bill number 24-153 by Councilmember Hodges, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Lopez. You finally got one in.
I did.
Finally.
They're fast.
Discussion. Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Lovell?
Aye.
Councilmember Hodges?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Lopez?
Aye.
Councilmember Shields?
Aye.
Councilmember DeMoro?
Aye.
Councilmember Carlisle?
Aye.
Mayor Baird?
Aye, that bill does go to second reading unanimously. That takes us to council comments. No council comments. We are going to go to committee reports. Anybody want to do a committee report? No? Okay, we have no meeting next week, so that's probably why. We will go to staff roundtable.
Just two quick items. First one, when we were talking about the art piece today, everybody was talking about how they used to play with helicopters. Am I the only one that still plays with those?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know. I still play with the movies because I have kids. But the second thing is, and the more serious thing is, on Monday, August 26th, our own Chief Snyder will be celebrating 5 years with the city, and wanted to tell him thank you and congratulations on the milestone.
Wow. Man, you've built how many fire stations in your short tenure here? Wow, that's pretty impressive.
He's got a fast hammer.
And you're working on a joint operation facility center. I like center because it's a jock. Oh, I got a couple of nods and I got a couple of no's out there. A jock, like the FBI calls theirs. I'm trying to lobby them from the dais. The jaw for the jock. The jock is what the FBI says. All right. Well, I'll let you guys decide. With that, thank you, Mr. Elam. You ran a fine meeting, sir. We're going to adjourn this at 8:36.
Good job.
Yep. Thought we